Planet Jura, Ancestral Continent, the main divine weapons factory in Ancestral Continent. Boss Gerard Burton, why don't you just listen to me? Don't you see that logic is on my and the rest of the men's side? A man who appeared to be in his 40s shouted. It was clear that this conversation had been going on for a while. An old man who looked to be in his 60s stopped striking the flaming broadsword in front of him and wiped his sweat. What kind of logic is this that says we should ignore His Excellency's orders and reduce the production of divine weapons? Have you all gone crazy? The 40-year-old man took 2 steps. Please think about it. Recently, the divine weapons factories and divine blacksmiths have increased dramatically in order to cover the invasion of planet Greenland. But this has caused the market to be flooded with golden armor and weapons. How many complete sets of armor have we made so far? Nearly 4 million. The army in Greenland has already had enough, and they no longer need anything except perhaps some arrows or replacing damaged parts from time to time. What will happen after a year or 2, in your opinion, if we continue production at this intensity? Boss Gerard Burton looked behind him indignantly. Humph, so what if we are asked to stop? That means we have done our duty. Weasley, your demand that we reduce our production to 10% of our total capacity and demand that the salaries of blacksmiths be raised 5-fold is a betrayal of His Excellency's trust. This is not my request alone, but rather the request of the workers' union in the factory. Golden armor and weapons are the basis of the heroics of that army in Greenland, but we are forgotten in the background and treated as ordinary craftsmen. Tell me, what will we do after we are asked to stop? Will we return to farming and selling cheese and dairy in stores? The man called Weasley became even more agitated. Firstly, the divine weapons and armor are the innovation and design of His Excellency, and you should thank him for giving us an opportunity to learn about this innovation and work on it. Secondly, if this happens and we are asked to stop production, then simply go and register in the army. I heard that His Excellency is planning to expand into new worlds. Alas, you were foolish and refused to go with him to Greenland and obtain the lands and riches there. Then at least prepare for the incoming wars. You might as well get a share. Gerard laughed and went back to releasing the sword before it got cold. Those riches should have been distributed to us whether we went or not. Weasley shouted, sparks shooting from his eyes. I, a saint from the noble family of Brighton, must either enlist in the army of His Excellency or work here as a blacksmith or a rune master to gain a status worthy of myself, while these rabble from the 4 continents have new cities and own vast lands over there. And now even the divine blacksmithing profession is being threatened. No, we will not allow this. Weasley, you'd better watch your words carefully. There are no more nobles and servants on the Ancestral Continent nor anywhere else on the surface of planet Jura, so don't forget this. You don't deserve anything either. If someone wants something, they have to work hard to get it. If you wanted to go with the army and get those spoils, you would have gone. But your hatred has blinded you and these friends of yours. But why would I care? Whether you go or not, this has nothing to do with me, and it will not make any difference to His Excellency who owns the demon army. Do as you wish, it is good I have your help here at least, Then Gerard Burton paused for a moment and looked behind him. I will say it one last time. Son of a noble family, go back to your work, you and that workers' union of yours, and do what you are told, otherwise leave my factory and go do whatever you want outside. There is nothing easier than asking a few young men from other continents to come and work. Perhaps employing people from the Ancestral Continent in the central factory was a mistake from the start. Then he went back to knocking on the sword again. Is this your last word? Came Weasley's trembling voice from behind him. Gerard laughed out loud. Yes, that's all that I have to say. We will do just what His Excellency says with no word less or added. And whoever doesn't like it should crash his head against the wall. What was that? At that moment, Gerard heard a gurgling sound coming from behind him, and when he quickly looked back, he saw a strange sight. He saw a person wearing a black mask and all black clothes standing behind Weasley. That person was gagging Weasley's mouth with his left hand while stabbing his neck with a short black dagger in his right hand. Even Gerard Burton, a level 27 saint, couldn't help himself and took a few steps back, running into the table and falling on top of the flaming sword he was working on. Arg. Hush! The masked man threw Wesley's body aside and gestured with his hand for Gerard to lower his voice. Are you from a shadow sword? Even after Gerard took in the scene in front of him, he continued to stutter, What do you want from us? Why did you kill my assistant? The shadow sword didn't say a word, just looked at the corpse next to him, and then kicked something that was in Weasley's hand. It was a short, white, curved dagger, and there were drops of blue liquid still dripping from it. Is this the deadly ivory dagger? This blade is very precious, and just a scratch from it causes rapid rotting at the spot of the wound, and there is no cure for that rotting. And on top of this dagger is also poisoned with blue lake snake poison. Why is it in his hand? Finally, a voice that did not sound normal came out from the masked man. Wesley Brighton bought this dagger and poison 2 days ago at an illegal auction, and we were watching him to find out what he intended to use it for. We know now. Are you saying that he intended to use it to kill me? No. There is nothing between me and him other than work. I don't even know him personally. All this because I refused to reduce production. Old Gerard slowly stood up, leaning on the overturned table. The look of panic on his face made it seem that he had aged another 100 years. Until this moment, he did not realize how close he was to death. Do not worry about the reasons, we know them well and are following them closely. The abnormal voice of the shadow sword sounded again. Really? What are the reasons that might push him to kill me when I am a member of the Burton family? Doesn't he know that an intense investigation might get him and his entire family killed? Old Gerard took a step forward. The absolute status of the Burton family members was beyond discussion now. The fact that most of them lived in the imperial capital now and only a small number of them were allowed outside of it in order to run the world was enough to show their status. But old Gerard's question was met with silence, and a cold look that sent a shiver down his spine. The shadow sword clearly wasn't ready to say a word about this. Thank you for saving my life. When Gerard knew that he would not take any information from him, so he just took a deep breath and bowed slightly in thanks. No need. I swore an oath to do these sort of things. The shadow sword responded with a frown, then bent down to pick up the corpse and place it on his shoulder. He then took out a few scrolls of the space ring in his left hand and handed them to the old man. His Excellency sent instructions today, and you will obey. All divine blacksmiths must provide half of their workers to produce these designs. As for the other half, let them continue working on the golden armor set and increase production further if you can. I hear and obey. Old Gerard received the scrolls with both hands with a full bow. When the old man raised his head again, the shadow sword had disappeared along with the corpse. He let out a long sigh of relief, then opened the scrolls and began to examine them slowly. This is the farm planet in front of the Demon City wall. Boom! A huge fiery explosion occurred suddenly in the middle of the air. The final form of the explosion looked like a charming rose containing white and red petals, but whoever tried to appreciate this rose would surely get punished, as the destructive power of this beautiful sight was imaginable. The rebound wave from that explosion alone was enough to uproot the dark red trees from the ground and throw them for miles like dry leaves. At this moment, 2 shadows emerged from the middle of the fiery explosion and floated in the middle of the air, motionless, as if they could see each other through the smoke and fire in the middle. One of them was an extremely beautiful girl. At first glance, she looks like an ordinary girl in her 20s, but when you look a little closer, a few strange things become clear. Her hair is a bright red color like roses, and even her lips and eyes are the same color. Her ears are pointed upwards, and above her ears, there are 2 thick but short horns that are bent upwards. She held in her hands a ball of red flame and closed her claw like nails around it. Her clothes were not too revealing nor covering, but the exposed parts of her body had strange patterns of red scales all over her. Although these scales looked random, they made her look even more beautiful. As for the other side, it was a demon about 3 meters tall. His features were somewhat handsome for a demon, and his long white hair was still flying due to the waves of the explosion. His stability in the middle of the air like a rock gave him more charisma. Other than that, he was a demon who possessed all the features of his kind. At this moment, That demon's left hand was burning with a bright white flame, and his right hand turned into a sticky liquid like it was waiting to take form instantly. If Robin had been here, he would have recognized that demon immediately. Even with all the changes that had occurred to him, it was Amon. Not bad, Flora, not bad at all. You've become even more annoying this time, but can I have from a little lizard like you? Finally, Amon opened his mouth and spoke in a strong demonic voice. Flora looked Amon up and down twice, then pointed at him disgustedly. Did you just call me a lizard? Oh, Amon, haven't you ever seen yourself? You look like the monsters we scare children with in fairy tales. No, I never saw myself, ha ha ha. Amon pointed to the empty place of his eyes and laughed out loud. Secondly, it is my pleasure that my appearance terrifies you, my precious moving meals. Your kind doesn't taste that bad either. It's been a few years since I tasted the liver of one of your kings. It is a little sore but quite addictive. Hey, Amon, why don't you look away and let me enter the city for a minute? No, just 10 seconds. I'll choose the fattest red bastard and leave quickly. Deal. She immediately returned to putting his free hand on her waist and showed a fatal smile, clearly not angry with Amon's words. The only way I'll let you enter the city is if you're a corpse. Amon gritted his teeth, but it was clear that he was absent-minded. His brain is currently working extra hard during this useless dialogue to think about his next plan. Not very far from the site of Amon's conversation with Flora, there was another scene taking place. The sky in that area was covered with lightning bolts as if they were consuming themselves. As for the area between the earth and the sky, it was immersed in a dark crimson color, the color of blood, as if it were a flaunting sea of blood. Every now and then, the sky flashes with a column of lightning that pierces the sea of blood, causing two shadows to appear in the middle. No one could see the features of the two because of the thick sea of blood. Only a faint shadow could be seen. But no one knew which one of them was the demon. In terms of height, in terms of long hair, in terms of the stance where they both crossed their hands on their chests, in terms of the enormous pressure, even the horns, as they both have two horns that point upward. At this moment, a large number of lightning pillars descended, illuminating the sea of lightning, and everyone's field of vision cleared for a few seconds. One of them was a young man who looked to be in his 30s with white hair and sharp human features. He was the lord of the Lightning Bull tribe, Aru. As for the one standing in front of him, he is the only demon capable of deterring him currently, the king of the Demon Kings, Sakar. Neither of them did anything other than hang in the air there looking at each other. Neither of them directed an attack at the other, not even saying a word, as if they were happy just holding the other party in check. After the lightning bolts caught Amon's attention for a moment, he looked back at Flora. Flora, what brought you and your man today? Nothing will change with these raids. Gather those you have and come at us so we can kill you or you kill us. There is no need. It is enough for us to remind you of our presence from time to time and lock you in your places like dogs. When you are starving, you will eventually eat each other, hee hee. Flora put her hand to her mouth and laughed sarcastically. Or maybe you could go out and chase us. You might even succeed in killing Aru and me if you did. You're not planning to stay where you are forever, right? TSK. It seems the alarm was unnecessary. We thought you were stupid monsters who don't know how to understand how the world works and need to be eliminated. It turns out that you are not just stupid monsters who should be eliminated, but cowards as well. How annoying. You are playing with your life. White flames spread from Amon's arm to the rest of his body while his right arm turned into an axe, and he began moving forward again. But at this moment, a demonic voice came from the top of the wall, stopping him in his place again. Brother Amon, do not let her drag you away from the wall. Don't forget what is around us. Amon stopped upon hearing that voice and spread his strong soul sense around him for a moment. Then, without another word, the flame on his body was put down, and he returned to standing in his place again, staring at Flora. Ha ha ha, you are a bunch of cowards. Stay in that city forever then. We will see who among us has the longest breath, ha ha. She did not immediately hesitate at this opportunity to mock and took full advantage of it. Amon gritted his teeth hard and pointed at Flora with the axe in his right arm. Am I the coward? Am I the one who throws attacks and retreats back every minute? If I am a coward because I refuse to move away from the wall, then show me your courage and come. Let's fight inside the wall. Ha ha ha, why would I do this? Am I the one under siege and starving? If you want to die fighting like a true warrior, then step forward. And if you want to starve like a coward, then stay there and wait for your intestines to eat themselves. Flora laughed out loud. That irritating lizard. Standing on top of the wall, Morin clenched both his fists tightly. If he hadn't reminded Amon to stop now, he might have been pulled away. Then the rest of the enemy emperors would appear and ambush him. This was how the last 2 emperor-level demons were killed. As Morin's blood boiled, a voice sounded beside him. Ha! Interesting. I can see that the demons now have 87 emperors, and around the city wall there are 87 enemy emperors as well. Sakar became as powerful as an emperor at level 43. And this makes sense since you lot get stronger by eating, and Sakar will always have the biggest feast. But why did his rival Aru become level 43 as well? Even Amon has become a martial emperor at level 42 and his rival is at level 42 as well. This bizarre balance is not natural at all. Why are you babbling? Do you think I don't know what you're saying? Go and stand in your position or else. Morin's shouting at the newcomer stopped midway and a few drops of sweat suddenly appeared on his forehead. My lord, Lord, are you here? Morin took 2 steps back when he saw the person standing next to him, then bent down fully until his head was at the same level as his waist. This subordinate salutes the Lord. The Lord. He is truly the Lord. I kneel out of respect for the Lord. Morin's sudden shout caught the attention of all the demons above and below the wall. In the blink of an eye, all the demons with disturbed expressions or those filled with anger turned to look towards the same point. Towards the Lord. When Amon heard the Lord shouts and sent his soul sense back to confirm Robin's presence, he quickly turned around, gave a full bow and shouted, Amon welcomes the Lord. Then he returned to face Flora again in the blink of an eye, but he was clenching his hands and clenching his teeth harder this time. Hoy Amon, who is this shorty over there? Flora couldn't hold back her curiosity and pointed at Robin. Shut up. Just shut up already. Amon, who had been exchanging blows with Flora a while ago, laughing with her, and even exchanging smiles, seemed to have transformed. Now his features showed great frustration and anger, as if he wanted to devour her alive. How could he not, when the Lord saw him exchanging blows helplessly with the enemy and unable to win? What if the Lord thought he had become useless? As for Sakar, he just looked at Robin and nodded. Robin did not consider his behavior disrespectful given the situation he saw him in, and he nodded back at him. Human. The lightning bull Aru furrowed his eyebrows when he saw what was happening. Seeing a human inside the wall wasn't entirely new since there were a few humans among the team of divine smiths, but they had definitely never seen the demons act like this with a human before, especially the 3 demons with the highest status, Amon, Morin, and Sakar all behaved strangely towards this human. Come, stand next to me. There is no need to be surprised. It's just that when I arrived, I felt turmoil in the air, so I asked the gate guards to be silent so as not to distract the warriors. Robin gestured towards Morin and motioned for him to get up. But, Lord, why did you not inform us of your coming so that we could prepare a suitable reception for you? The road from the space portal to here was not cleaned well. Morin wondered and looked towards the path Robin had come from with some embarrassment. Scattered pieces of corpses and bones were still scattered everywhere. For the demons, this is a nice decor, but it is definitely not a pleasant sight for a human. Robin smiled before returning to look directly into Flora's eyes. Don't worry about these things. Even if you cleaned the streets of the corpses, you wouldn't be able not to clean their blood from my hands. The important thing is, you're supposed to alert about the 7th wave never came, so I decided to come myself. Perhaps you forgot about me or something. It seems that I came at the right time. No one dares to forget you, my lord. It's just... Morin quickly responded, the 7th wave never came. Oh, how come? Robin spoke calmly, this time looking red flame dragon Flora up and down with eyes glowing golden. As I told your excellency, we are subjected to daily attacks from small groups of enemies, And every now and then a strong wave comes to us that takes hundreds of thousands of lives. But after the sixth wave, no other such waves came to us. And the enemy's plan turned into what you see now. Morin lowered his head. What I see it now. Do you mean that there are 87 martial emperors who are constantly besieging you? It is not a bad plan, they do not attack, but they keep you in a state of constant readiness for war, which causes you to be exhausted. And at the same time, if some of you try to get out, they will ambush and kill them. As for if all the demon emperors try to come out and fight to the end, then the enemies may have other emperors well hidden that might appear to wreak havoc on the city and capture the space portal. The siege might look simple, but it is indeed far from that. Robin continued in his same calm tone. This is absolutely true, my lord. This situation has been going on for 4 or 5 years, and every time an emperor appears among us, one appears among them to equalize the balance again. Every few weeks, Brother Sacker, and the rest of the demon emperors would come out to clash with the enemies to give the hunting parties a chance to go out to raid some of the closest villages to bring us food, but most of them die before they return.
Moon nodded heavily.
Robin raised his eyebrows slightly. Oh, looks like the farm planet is no longer a farm. Huh. Morin clenched his hands tightly. It is just as you say, Lord, only Brother Sacker was able to break through to level 43 because he was able to hunt down and kill 3 enemy emperors. Brother Amon and I were only able to hunt down 1 emperor, and the rest lived on what we could find or on suicide missions. The hunting teams leave under our protection with 1,000 demons, from which 2 or 3 demons would hardly return every time. If it were not for the space rings that enable them to collect enough corpses, our situation would have become worse. What exactly happens now? Although there are many enemy emperors and we have fought with them more than once, Flora and Aru come out almost daily and challenge us in duels. At first, we were sending the demon kings randomly, but we found that Aru and Flora were gaining more strength and experience with every fight, so we stopped feeding them more experience and assigned Brother Ammonius and Brother Sacker to stop them whenever they appeared. So now whenever Aru and Flora appear for a challenge, Amon and Sakar come out to them. Flora has been struggling against Amon every day for years, but they are in a state of balance, as your excellency sees. As for Sakar and Aru, their battle is settled. Aru cannot inflict any harm on Sakar due to the protection of the Sea of Blood, and Sakar cannot capture Aru or kill him because of his incredible speed. So they are content with this silent confrontation every day. Perhaps one of them makes a mistake that the other party exploits. Morin smiled and looked down at the ground. He had to admit that these 2 had already surpassed him. Robin grinned sarcastically. I gave you the farm planet, but the one who was trapped in the end was you. How ironic, indeed. Strength alone is not everything when facing intelligent creatures. Crash Morin's fist forced his claws to dig into his palm. You are right, Lord. We deserve every word. Don't worry that I don't blame you, or it can be said that if I blame you, I have to take double that blame. You have done what you promised. Your numbers have increased, and the number of emperors and sages among you has witnessed an increase that I have not imagined. But I am the one who broke my side of the promise. I brought you here and told you that there are no martial emperors, but here I can spot 87 martial emperors around the city alone. Robin nodded calmly. Don't say that, Lord, you didn't know either. Those martial emperors certainly weren't there when we started the invasion. Morin became emotional and responded quickly. It's okay, were they present before or not, it doesn't matter now. I'm the one who brought you here and put you in this situation, and I have to help a little. Robin waved at Morin, then suddenly raised his voice. Ammonius, capture that sweetie for me. The white flame flared up again until Amon was like a burning star in the middle of the sky, and he uttered 2 words carrying a terrible killing intent. I obey. Humph, who are you capturing, you hideous thing? Flora's features changed instantly, and the red flame returned to burn strongly over her as well. This was not the first time she had fought Amon. They were mostly equal in firepower, and they knew every trick the other party had. Every time they clashed, they would exchange a few attacks, after which they would return to standing at a safe distance to catch their breath and plan for the incoming clash. Then the cycle repeats. How would that change now? But she soon realized how wrong she was. Boom! Flora quickly retreated. avoiding a huge white fireball attack. But she didn't get a chance to take her breath, as after the fireball passed her by a few inches, it exploded next to her and sent her flying. Arg. The indirect explosion was not enough to cause any real damage to her, but it was more than enough to knock her off balance. The next moment, she found Ammonius 1 foot away from her, raising his right arm that took the shape of an axe. He raved loudly as he slashed the axe down on her head. "You are courting death," Flora shouted. Then a ball of red flame appeared between her horns and was shot towards Ammon with a boom. Ammon's right arm, which was about to take Flora's life, turned into a cloud of blood at this moment, and the entire right half of his body was pushed back. But this gave momentum to his left arm, which had already turned into a short and pointy blade, stabbing towards Flora's ribs forcefully. Arg! Flora screamed in pain again. The dagger pierced her ribs from the side and pierced her heart. But she made a quick decision and flew to her left quickly to remove the dagger from her body before it continued its path. And as she flew away, she launched several attacks to kill Ammon, who lost his right arm. Boom! The explosions turned the sky red. Ammonius emerged from all those explosions with a deformed body, missing his left leg this time. Although his right arm, which had exploded previously, had already begun to regenerate at extreme speed, he still did not appear to be in a state that allowed him to continue this fight. However, he still continued his pursuit of Flora like a madman, raising his left hand, which had turned into a sword this time. "What the hell is wrong with you today?" Flora screamed in horror as she pressed on the wound in her heart. Although the blade had only pierced a short distance from her heart, it was any injury to the heart, no matter how small. She barely received it, but she had already begun to feel heaviness throughout her entire body, and she could no longer use her full strength. If Ammon does not give her a chance to catch her breath and focus on renewing the wound, it will worsen even more with such pressure and cause her everlasting disability or even death. She had fought Ammon for years, and this was the first time they had both been injured like this, and it did not seem like he intended to stop. "Flora!" Arrow shouted when he saw the situation below and almost attacked Ammonius from behind. Vroom! The moment his attention was distracted, the sea of blood around him tried to close in on him, but at the last moment, he used a powerful lightning bolt to make a hole in the sea of blood and quickly escaped from the siege before it was complete. Then he looked at Sakar angrily. "You." Sakar did not say a word or move from his place. He just shook his head slowly, as if telling him that he was not allowed to go in that direction. Aru raised his arms slightly, and lightning bolts from the sky began to strike them and wrap around his hands and horns. In a moment, he looked as if he was the living embodiment of lightning. Sakar also lowered his hands, which he had kept folded for a long time, and took one step forward. The sea of blood around him began to churn violently. It was clear that he too was ready for a major fight, and then he finally opened his mouth full of pointed teeth. "This isn't the first time you've gotten angry in front of me. Your anger will not change the outcome at all. Only the Lord's command might change the course of this battle, just as what is happening below." The lightning bolts began to explode on Aru's hands, excitedly waiting to escape towards Sakar. But Aru lowered his arms again and looked at Robin. "That human is your lord?" "Yes," Sakar replied in his harsh voice. "This is the person leading you. The one who told you to do what you did to us was a mere human. He doesn't even seem that strong." Aru's eyes exuded clear killing intent and mockery. This human seemed to be level 35 at the maximum and had not done anything since his appearance except stand on top of the wall and stare at the ongoing battle with those golden eyes of his. But it's understandable that he didn't interfere. Even if he wanted to do something, what could a human being do? Humans once inhabited this world in large numbers, but they could not bear the fierce competition and were all massacred. Did the ancestors of this human manage to escape somehow and he returned to take revenge or something like that? It doesn't matter. What they failed to do in the ancestral era will not change today. His power is not something your mind can comprehend, and his abilities are unparalleled in all worlds. Weak. Even 100 of you will not be able to touch the Lord. Sakar quickly replied. How can he allow the Lord to be insulted? Let's test this theory. A cruel smile appeared on Aru's face, The lightning that was filling his entire body began to curl above his horns in preparation for the attack. Virum, the sea of blood around Sakaar, became more turbulent. Then Sakaar's hand turned into a scythe and he raised it in an attacking position. "You have to get past me first." But at this moment a voice came from below. "Let him do it, Lord." Sakaar looked at the wall in surprise and found Robin still looking at the battle of Amon and Flora. But there were definitely words towards him. "Let him attack. I also want to try something." "As you command." Sakaar nodded and stood aside, folding his hands over his crimson chest again. Then Robin raised his head and smiled provocatively at Aru. "I will not move from this spot. I will not try to defend myself with a weapon or even a technique. You know what? I will not even form an energy shield. You have one chance to kill me. Show me what you got, Lord. Please reconsider." Morin almost went crazy when he heard this. He knew very well Aru's strength since he had fought him many times. Even he, one of the strongest demon kings, would be left on the brink of death if he received an attack from the lightning bolt Aru without defense. Sakaar also focused on the Lord seriously, waiting for him to change his mind. All the demons knew that the Lord's strength was not in direct combat, and receiving such a large attack without protection would be disastrous. But he did not utter a word. The Lord was not a fool not to know something as simple as this. "You don't have to worry about me. Just step back a little so you don't get hit by accident." Robin laughed and then went back to watching the battle of Ammonius and Flora, which was almost reaching its climax, while muttering in a low voice, "Interesting. Very interesting. Humph." Aru blew air out of his nose like a bull as he stared at Robin, angry and feeling extremely insulted. If a stare could kill, he would have killed him 1,000 times over by now. But if staring wasn't enough to take this Lord life, a powerful stage 4 thunderstorm would be enough. The massive storm that was destroying the sky above the city began to slowly diminish. All the lightning stored in it began to constantly gather at one point above the place where Robin was standing. That gathering point began to rapidly increase in size. From being the size of a small ball, it became approximately 2 meters in diameter in the blink of an eye. It continues to grow until it becomes like a violet sun made of lightning. Lord. When Morin felt the power of the lightning ball concentrated at the top, he shouted again in worry. The rest of the demons around the wall also did not know whether they should run away or jump in front of the Lord to protect him from the coming attack. That attack would be enough to destroy the entire metal wall and turn it into dust. It's okay, Robin muttered again, his eyes still not looking up from the battle going on behind him, as if he didn't sense what was going on above. But something strange started to happen around him. The golden glow in his eyes intensified even more, and then it started to extend from his eyes until it covered his entire body. "You will pay for your arrogance." When Ero saw that the Lord had not actually made any defensive movement yet, his anger intensified even more. "Die." A straight column of intense 4th stage lightning bolt descended above Robin's head. Boom! The Lord has been killed. A lightning bolt came from the sky like no other. The purple lightning bolt took an even shape without any zigzags, as if it were a column holding the sky above. Even the demons who did not know the meaning of pity were terrified when they saw that huge pillar of lightning touching the Lord's head directly. Without a veil between them, he didn't even raise his hands in defense. Lord. Even Sakaar himself could not bear to carry out the order any longer and quickly flew towards Robin, hoping to save something from him. If this lightning bolt struck him without protection, it would split his head in two. But something strange happened that made all the demons and the locals look at Robin with mouths wide open. At this moment, Robin raised his right hand and put 2 fingers in his mouth, then whistled and shouted, "Hey Amon, you've done well. That's enough. You can come back now. If you press harder, this battle won't remain 1 against 1 for much longer." "Yes, Lord." Amon was the only one who did not stop moving, even for a single moment, or even look behind him since the order to attack was given. And now that the order was given to withdraw, he did not delay a moment either and dragged his destroyed body towards the city wall with difficulty, leaving a deafening silence behind him. Even Flora, who had been stabbed all over her body and had lost so much blood and even lost her left arm, was now looking at Robin with her mouth open that her bloody eyes seemed as if they had no eyelids. Around her, many individuals began to voluntarily reveal themselves. One by one, most of the emperors of the farm planet emerged from their hiding places and resting zones. Some of them had wings, some had tails, others had visible gills on their necks or even hooves, and all of them at this moment were looking at the fence with their mouths open as if they were hypnotized. At this moment, the pillar of lightning is still descending over Robin's head. The metal wall around Robin, which reaches a height of more than 30 meters, has completely melted and leveled to the ground again, turning into magma, but Robin's shadow is still standing in his place, slowly patting his chin as if he is thinking about something. No. This is impossible. Humans should not have an ability like this. What the hell are you? Thunderbull Aru couldn't stay calm and started shouting in terror. This is the strongest attack in his arsenal. He always thought that if Sakaar was hit by this concentrated pillar of the 4th stage of the Major Lightning Law, it would be enough to kill him. But the question is, will Sakaar remain standing in place and wait for him until the lightning sun gathers in the sky and then wait for it to descend above his head? His only chance to activate that attack was either to destroy fixed defenses or to kill an arrogant person who didn't know his limits. Finally, a person this stupid and arrogant appeared before him, but he failed to even injure him. Finally, the pillar of lightning began to slowly fade away until it disappeared completely. Now it seemed like the only thing that was making sound in the whole world had stopped, and now there was complete silence. At this moment, all that remained of this front of the wall was the spot where Robin stood, and all that remained in the eyes of everyone present was the same person glowing in golden color. TSK. I can't think straight when such a bad smell is around me. Robin frowned a little after the lightning attack ended due to the thick smoke around him, the smoke caused by the melting of a large part of the wall. With a wave of his hand, several small clouds gathered and began to rain over the magma until its temperature dropped. After another wave, winds came and carried the remaining smoke away. Robin smiled and gently shook off his clothes, then lowered the rate of activation of the law of truth, so the golden glow withdrew from his body and returned to focusing only on his eyes as if nothing had happened. Long live the Lord! The Lord is eternal. The Lord is invincible. The demons seemed to have gone crazy at this moment and started shouting different chants at the same time. Robin smiled and nodded towards them. This ability was acquired by Robin when he reached the 3rd stage of the Master Law of Truth while fighting against the warlords. At that time, a glow leaked from his eyes and covered his entire body. Robin did not understand at the time what this meant, but he took some time later on to practice it a little until he understood a few things about it. This new ability, or as Robin called it, the Golden Cloak, is the first purely combat ability that Robin has shown since he began using the Master Law of Truth. When activated, it forms a tight golden-colored robe around Robin that forces any law to return to its true form before it touches Robin. That is when the major heavenly lightning law just touched the Golden Cloak. The lightning bolt was forced to turn into a number of scattered patterns that quickly faded away before touching Robin's body. The effect of the gold cloak can be compared to the effect of Robin's black spear attack. The spear targets part of the law pattern and destroys it, forcing the rest of the pattern to have no meaning and just disappear. It's just that now he discovered that he no longer has to take time and effort to strike with the spear nor exhaust himself finding an opening. As soon as any kind of law approaches and touches, the golden cloak will fade away by itself. After touching the golden cloak, all that remained of Aru's attack was the energy that he allocated to the attack, which no longer found a target to support it, so it turned into scattered natural energy. And it was the reason that Robin's clothes flutter throughout the attack. But that is all. Robin smiled satisfied after the success of the practical experiment. While activating the golden cloak, as long as the gap between him and the assailant is not too large, no harm will befall him from a heavenly law. Only physical attacks can affect him. Robin finally broke the silence and looked at Thunderbull Aru. Not a bad attack at all, for a villager like you. Panic appeared in Aru's eyes more clearly and he quickly retreated, but he quickly stopped. It seemed as if he thought of something, So he took out a dagger from his back and then rushed towards Robin. I want to see how your little tricks will save you this time. Virum, the sea of blood, appeared again. Sakaar took 2 steps in mid-air and stood in front of Aru. The Lord said 1 attack. Robin raised his eyebrows and nodded with admiration. You quickly analyzed the situation and came to the conclusion that you should try to attack physically. You are truly a genius, as they say about you. That brat that Amon fought is not bad either, as she lasted for more than 3 minutes in a life-or-death fight against a demon emperor without dying or trying to escape, or even losing badly. You both really deserve all the investment that has been pumped into you. Investment? What do you mean by this? Does this mighty Thunder Bull need investment from anyone? If you dare, come out from behind Sakaar and come and face me. Aren't you their lord? How come you are hiding behind one of your followers now? Come out and prove your strength. A few drops of sweat appeared on Aru's forehead. It was clear he wanted to change the subject. Oh, are you trying to deny it now? Ha ha ha. Robin laughed loudly and then shook his head. Unfortunately, this won't help you. Everything is exposed before my eyes. Are you still trying to escape from the confrontation by talking crab? You are now in front of your followers. If you do not come out and fight me to the death now, they will say that you are a coward. Thunder Bull Aru pointed at Robin and shouted forcefully. His index finger was shaking slightly. You and the rest of your friends here can hide this from anyone but me. I see them all as you see the sun. Robin lowered his eyes slightly to Aru's energy-gathering center inside. Tell me, little bull, how many people you sacrificed to be able to have this power? You say you see them. Who exactly do you mean? Aru tried to remain calm at Robin's words, but the trembling was very clear in his voice. I mean, what was going on in the solid energy foundations, starting from foundation number 41 up to foundation number 43, of course. Robin smiled from ear to ear. Your solid foundations up to foundation no. 40, that is, up to the top of the sagehood realm, was going smoothly and without much going on, but all this changed when you came to foundation no. 41, that is, the first solid foundation in the Emperor's realm, isn't it? What nonsense are you saying? I should have expected you to be a madman like your demons. Aru shouted again. He really now. Hear me out to the end then, that foundation no. 41 you have is made up of a huge number of scattered pieces, and each one of those pieces is made of different laws and even different stages. Some of them of the 2nd stage and some of the 3rd stage. Most of those pieces are made with different earth path laws of the 2nd and 3rd stages. Now your Emperor's domain foundations are like a jigsaw puzzle. I can spot at least 1,000 puzzle pieces in foundation no. 41, 3,000 pieces in foundation number 42, and 9,000 pieces in foundation number 43. TSK, this doesn't look good. All of the farm planet emperors swallowed together at this moment, while the goblin emperors looked at them in surprise. Their emperor foundations were in scattered pieces. What does this mean? I admit that I'm not an expert when it comes to the emperor's realm, but I can pull some strings. Robin raised his gaze to look into Aru's troubled eyes. Your sudden breakthrough into the Emperor's realm. Having the number of emperors on your side equals the same number of emperors among the demons, is a fact. Your power level is always the same as Sakaar's and you never rise above him or leave him behind. If we connect all of this to your solid emperor foundations, which are made up randomly of scattered pieces of foundations made by the 2nd and 3rd stages, then I think I will have a good guess as to what happened. The lightning bull only felt himself taking a few steps back in the middle of the air. Even the red flame dragon Flora also forgot her pain and returned to looking at Robin with bulging eyes. The rest of the emperors of the farm planet began to look at each other as well. You have a way that they can break through to higher realms instantly by sacrificing saints and sages, right? Robin chuckled. Liar. These are nothing but pure speculation. What do you know about the orphan blood world and its people? You are nothing but invaders who appeared out of nowhere, but you pretend to know everything. Flora shouted loudly, while still clutching her severed upper arm. He passed his eyes over Flora and the rest of the orphan blood planet emperors with a look of condescension. You are no different from this little bull either, Each one of you sacrificed several thousand law users to obtain your power. Speculation, you say. Let me speculate for you again, then. The goat-faced one over there has foundation number 41 made up of more than 21,000 pieces, all of which contain the first stage of laws. You sacrificed 21,000 knights in order to obtain your power. You lot didn't even leave the knights alone. TSK. This time Flora had nothing to say. The numbers and law stages were too accurate to be guessed twice. All the emperors of the farm planet sank into silence, and heavy drops of sweat began to color their foreheads. Because they know what it means for the enemies to discover what they are doing. And indeed Robin did not leave them waiting for long, and Dirkly hit the nail on the head. A big smile appeared on his face again, and he spoke with a laugh. I'm not really an expert when it comes to your world, this orphan blood. I only heard that you are in a constant state of war, which explains why you reproduce so much and have huge numbers of law users. But I also realized that you don't have an infinite number of law users to exploit like this. There are 87 emperors here, and each one of you has sacrificed several thousand law users. How many sages, saints, or even knights are left in your world now? Is this why the major attack waves stopped, because you don't have an army to attack in the first place? Sakar. Amon and the rest of the demons turned towards the enemy emperors with expressions filled with shock and anger. If this were true, then the features of the orphan blood planet emperors turned for the worse. This was what they were most afraid of revealing. That is why they camped around the demon city to prevent them from leaving. Haha, our men are as numerous as dust, and our women give birth every day like rabbits. We just decided to bear the burden of killing those red dogs and ordered our children to return to their daily work. But you took this as a sign of weakness. If you want to test your theory, get out of your cities and try then. The seventh wave will be the last one. An emperor with a lizard tail pointed at Robin and shouted forcefully. But Robin just smiled at this threat. Oh, maybe I should be afraid and take your words into account now. Hey, these psychological games won't work here. With one snap of my finger, the demon emperors will start clashing with you, and you will be pushed aside alongside them, while the entire demon army will emerge to transform this planet into dust and blood. There won't be any orphan left alive by then. Do you want to try? That emperor tried to say something else, like a threat or something, but Robin's golden eyes seemed to be looking deep into his soul, and he could detect his lie. After a few seconds, he mustered enough courage to close his eyes and shouted, I and my men will. Enough! Aru sent a lightning bolt right next to the emperor, startling him. Enough talk. Then he looked back at Robin with some fear. He did not want anyone to reveal anything else without him realizing it, and he certainly did not want to provoke this lord to try what he said, for he knows the outcome. That lord came out of nowhere and revealed everything about them in a few minutes. He hadn't even taken a step outside the wall yet. Yet his eyes seemed to read everything like an open book. Lord. A while ago he had been wondering why the army of demons that had united the entire orphan blood world against them would obey a mere human like this. Now he understand. Aru's shout brought Robin's attention to him again, and he spoke with a laugh. Do you think shutting a few mouths would make any difference? Even if all of your tongues were cut out, do you think that would prevent me from knowing the truth? The truth about the destruction of most of your armies has become a reality in my eyes, and the case is closed. Who can stop the demon army now? By using the heavenly major space law, I can determine the locations of the rest of your army concentration points and major cities over this half of the planet within 1 hour, and send to each of them a demon army to level them with the ground, while you will remain here playing with me and the demon emperors. Do you think that whether you talk to me or not will make any difference? You do not have secrets in front of me. In my eyes, you are as naked as the day your mothers gave birth to you. You, what kind of monster are you? Aru's face was completely filled with panic. There was no point in trying to cover it up further. If he continued pressing, the Robin was mistaken, then he could just put his theory to the test. They had struggled so much to keep this truth hidden for as long as possible. But Robin now spoke as if it was as clear as the sun, and he even became certain that he was ready to get the demon army out of their safe zone. All that, and he had not taken a step outside the wall yet. Ahami. I'm the monster. You alone have sacrificed more than 13,000 saints and sages in order to obtain this power. I know what stripping the solid foundations from a body does. I tasted it myself once. And certainly not a single one of those who contributed to making you an emperor has survived. And let me guess, most of the people you sacrificed were from one race that had to do with the path of Earth, right? And the rest of the scattered pieces of other laws mean that the people of that race were not enough for you, that you had to gather 1,000 more. From other races, that is, you literally sacrificed the saints and sages of an entire race in order to obtain this power. And of course this race will not survive after that, meaning that you alone indirectly annihilated an entire race. And you dare to call me a monster? What about you then? Robin's big smile turned into an angry expression. If it had not been for you sending the demons upon us, this would not have happened. The rock lizard's race made a great sacrifice for the sake of our entire world. If it were not for them, I would not have been able to confront this thing, and everything would have ended at his hands. Aru shouted, pointing at Sakaar, "You sent us those demons to kill us all and destroy the world. But you call me a monster because I want to protect my world. What kind of twisted mind do you have? But then again, what would I expect from then one leading these things? Oh, what an impassioned and powerful speech, but I have a feeling that the great sacrifice of the rock lizard species wasn't voluntary, was it?" Robin raised his head further and laughed. Aru had nothing to say. How could an entire race choose to sacrifice themselves in order to strengthen a person of another race? They wouldn't even do it for one of their own. The rock lizard race was one of the most evil and hostile races on the orphan blood planet, and everyone hated them, so when it was decided to use sacrifices, everyone agreed to start with them first. So the blades of the army that were prepared to take down the demons turned into swords directed at the rock lizard tribe until they were all annihilated without leaving a single infant behind. The cries of that race still echo in his head to this day. This is what I thought as well. Let's be realistic here. You have all been fighting each other and eating each other's flesh since ancient times. You declared war on the demon race only because they exterminated 2 races and you were afraid of their momentum, right? But you, alone, annihilated one of your local races to obtain this power of yours, in addition to all the races that were crushed in order to make all those emperors behind you. According to the density of certain laws in their foundations makes us certain that you have annihilated at least 7 or 8 races, and have harmed the rest of the races to the point that it will take hundreds or thousands of years to regain their strength. If we calculate the extent of the destruction caused by the demons and compare it to what you have caused to yourselves, we will find that the demons are the oppressed side here. Robin laughed again. Then he took his eyes away from Aru and began to pass them over the enemy emperors again with a keen look. Why do I have the feeling that you were waiting for a threat like the demons to appear in order to make these sacrifices? This is definitely not an ordinary technique that you all know, otherwise, this rotten planet would have been filled with a lot of emperors before the arrival of the demons, and the races here would have been much fewer after making sacrifices day and night. This ability to make sacrifices is certainly not a technique that can be passed on either. It must only be one zone or some kind of item that exists in a fixed location, and perhaps it is also under the guard of all the races. Of course, who would want a member of an enemy race to make such huge sacrifices and become stronger? Let me guess. There are heavy conditions that you have set among yourselves that must be met first in order to use it, otherwise no one will allow it. And the emergence of the demon race fulfilled these conditions and gave the powerful races among you the right to use that item and cooperate in exterminating the inferior races. Not only Aru, but panic appeared on the faces of all the emperors of the orphan blood planet. Even Flora forgot the pain in her arm and stared at Robin with shaking eyes. Phew! I always regretted it when I decided to send the demons here. And I doubted Morin's words when he told me that you were a bunch of savages who deserved to die. But now I see that he was right. Robin shook his head several times, then raised his head and looked at them condescendingly. This shithole you call a planet deserves everything that happens to it. If I didn't send the demons to fill their bellies, you would have destroyed yourselves sooner or later. Aru clenched his hands until they started making cracking noises, and spoke in a muffled voice. Think about it however you want, But I only wanted to protect my world from a greater threat. I wanted the greater good for everyone after making the necessary sacrifice. Robin raised his eyebrows slightly when he heard some remorse in Aru's tone. Wow! What do we have here? A monster with a conscience. No wonder they chose to make you the first to gain the power of an emperor. Maybe they see you as an honest person, worthy of trust even. Then he raised his voice and looked at the rest of the local emperors. If the honest person among you is willing to sacrifice 13,000 saints and sages, 13,000 people in order to gain power, people who have lived for hundreds or thousands of years and have their own stories, lives, and ambitions, people who have families who love them, then what does the immoral person among you do then? Then he turned back to look at Flora. I am not saying that I am an angel descending from heaven. I decided to be a devil and sacrifice you in order to gather power, but isn't that what you are doing as well? At least when I decided to sacrifice, I decided to attack a distant planet. As for you, you are sacrificing each other. Robin waited a few seconds before sighing. I came today mainly to see why the seventh wave has not started yet, but I also came to see if there is a way out that I can give you. Perhaps my feeling of guilt towards the people of this world will ease a little, but I no longer see any reason why I would hesitate to finish you off. My demons, are you hungry? Yes, my lord. All the demons shouted in unison, shaking the ground. All the demon emperors stood shoulder to shoulder on the wall with a killing intent that would pierce the sky. The standard demon's army from the little cubs in the Energy Foundation realm to those at the top of the Sage realm looked as if they were eager to hear the order. Years have passed since the siege that reduced their rations by a large margin. And most of the corpses the suicide hunting squads bring go to the demon kings to help them get to the martial emperor realm as quickly as possible. So are they hungry? Very. All the emperors of Orphan Blood Planet mobilized their energies until the ground began to shake beneath their feet. Fear and uncertainty evident in their eyes. But they were all ready to fight here until the end no matter what. They must stop the demon army. Or else disaster will strike their whole world. That's enough. Everyone stay in your place. The sky quickly became cloudy again and lightning bolts began to fall like rain. Although they did not harm anyone, they were enough to attract attention to Aru again, who pointed at Robin and shouted angrily, Do you think we are a group of clowns? If we are in a life or death fight, we will be satisfied by standing in front of your demon emperors without moving and allowing that cursed army of yours to bypass us. Any indirect attack from us will kill tens of thousands of your demons before they can get out of those walls. Robin nodded in agreement with a confident smile on his face. I realize that at least you will be able to kill half of the demon army before they spread out. Perhaps so you can kill a large number of demon emperors before you are all annihilated. Or perhaps you will be able to take the battle inside the walls and destroy the demon families inside as a form of revenge. I realize that the possibilities for your reactions are many and they are all truly frightening. But so what? Whoever is left of the demons after this massacre will be enough to wipe out your planet clean. And they in turn will have enough food to multiply their numbers several times. Aru opened his eyes wide open. The look in this lord's eyes said a lot. That person really didn't care about the number of deaths among the demons. He considered them tools, no, even less than tools. How can the demons remain silent after hearing something like this? Aru quickly looked at Sakar, hoping to say words to him to try to create a rift between him and that lord. But he found Sakar still burning with raw intent to kill. All the demon emperors seemed as if they had not heard anything, and some of them even grew more excited when they thought about the amount of food and the doubling of their numbers after the victory. What lord is this? How did he manage to gain the loyalty of these monsters? Aru returned to looking into Robin's unfazed eyes again. I see, he himself is the most sinister monster of them all. Think again, once you release the attack command you won't be able to withdraw it. Don't forget that we can still make more emperors. Once this final battle begins we will not hold ourselves off anymore. You will see another 100 emperors in front of you in a single day. No one will win in this case. Aru tried again. They had maintained their arrogance for a long time under the cover of illusion. But now that the truth about sacrificing their army was revealed, that confidence had evaporated. In the end, the number of emperors is actually equal, but there is a huge number of sages in the ranks of the demons, and now that Lord has appeared who received a direct attack from the Thunderbull without even blinking. The beginning of this unequal battle means the annihilation of all the emperors of the planet Orphan Blood. They will struggle for a while and take many demons with them, but their end is inevitable. Come on, we all know there won't be another 100 of you, not even another 30 if I guess right. But then again, it doesn't matter, if more of you show up, the more I will kill. Robin shrugged. I imagine your corpses will be a great help for the rest of the Demon Kings to mutate. You. Aru almost shouted something else when he noticed something and lowered his voice again. Since you're so confident, why haven't you given the order to attack yet? What do you want? Oh, so even a human with the head of a bull can be intelligent. Haha, I do want something and only you can give it to me. Robin raised his hand and propped his chin mockingly. Say it, if it's reasonable we can discuss it. Aru spoke with much difficulty. He didn't come today with the intention of negotiating for his life. Robin then began to pass his golden eyes towards the Orphan Blood planet emperors before returning to focus his eyes on Aru again. Sacrificing the energy foundations of a large number of cultivators in order to craft an Emperor Realm foundation is not a bad idea, but it is very difficult to implement. Even if I had this idea, I would have suffered for hundreds or even thousands of years to implement it. Why do you have it and why can you use it so many times with ease? Aru did not open his mouth. Robin pointed twice at Aru's energy gathering center. There is also something strange going on in the foundations of your Emperor's realm that is very eye-catching. You, for example, have a small lightning bolt that attacks the scattered pieces that made up your foundations, destroying the fragments of the laws in them, and rewriting them using the fourth stage from the major heavenly law of lightning, meaning that in a few more years all those scattered pieces will disappear and you will have a true Emperor's foundations, all built with the major heavenly law of lightning, and even a perfect law up to the fourth stage. And I do not see that you control that technique either, as it works automatically before my eyes now. That technique is a few times better than my foundation modification technique. I apologize for my rudeness, but this is something a humble civilization like yours should not have. And Aru asked impatiently, his features turning for the worse because he could already guess what Robin's next move would be. I want all the information about the sacrifice process and this modification technique and where you got it from. In return, I will give you 10 years of peace. And indeed, Robin did not disappoint. Rumble, forget it. Aru shouted and the sky behind him thundered loudly. This is the only thing we have that allowed us to stay strong in front of your demons up till this day, and you want us to hand it over. Do you think we are stupid to put our neck in your hand? Robin laughed. Let's be reasonable here. I know there are still some cultivators here and there on your planet that you can use to make more emperors, but how many emperors? By estimation, you can make a maximum of about 20 more emperors if you sacrifice your families. Meanwhile, I can bring food to the demons through that space portal behind me and nourish them until they produce 20 more emperors with ease. Your reliance on sacrifice weakens you, not strengthens you. Give me those techniques or items and I will grant you some good conditions. Work for me, you and your families will live in better conditions and thrive like never before. More importantly, you will not need to sacrifice anyone else.
Impossible.
How can we trust the words of someone like you? No matter what method you use or how you assure us, it is impossible for us to hand over our last line of defense against you. Even if we all die, we will not let you have it. Aru shouted again angrily. The rest of the emperors behind him agreed as well. Robin was silent for a few seconds, then sighed and shook his head. It seems that convincing you with the oath tablets is not possible at the moment. Ha! That's okay too. I will give you one last way to end the day in peace. If you lot didn't agree to this one too, then you don't need to respond. I advise you to just attack directly as the battle will be unavoidable. Aru looked at the rest of the emperors next to him, who nodded towards him. Then he suppressed his anger a little and asked, "What is it?" Robin smiled and then pointed at Flora. "I want her." Aru did not utter a word in response to Robin, but lightning began to spread throughout his entire body and emanate from his eyes, as if it was preparing to devour him. "You dare." One of the emperors of the orphan blood planet couldn't restrain himself and shouted. That person had horns coming out of the side of his head and red hair as well. It was clear that he was Flora's relative. We can die, but we cannot be humiliated. Another emperor shouted angrily, and not only him, but many of the emperors of the orphan blood planet took defensive positions. But not all of them. A large number of the emperors looked sideways at Flora. They did not say anything to agree to the offer or urge Flora to think, but they were not ready to fight either. It was clear that they were seriously considering the offer, or more accurately, they had already agreed, but they did not dare to say it aloud. Robin seemed as if he did not see the division taking place in front of him. To be more precise, he did not seem to care. When he saw some of them shouting at him, he just raised his shoulders slightly. I gave you your chance. If you don't appreciate it, then there is no need to talk anymore. Then he raised his hands, ready to give a signal to the demons to advance. The demons bared their fangs and showed their claws, millions of them ready to pounce forward and continue pushing forward to the end. Wait, at this tense moment, a feminine voice came out. What exactly do you want from me, Flora? Aru shouted in a voice that shook the hearts of everyone below the realm of an emperor. Don't say that you are thinking of submitting to that pervert. Robin furrowed his eyebrows slightly at this. There was no need to soil his reputation like that, right? Do you have another solution? If I have to sacrifice myself for our world, so be it. Some tears appeared in Flora's eyes and she cried out. You will not go with him, this matter is over. I will not allow my life to continue knowing that your honor was the price. Even if you were cut into pieces today, I will not allow it. Aru looked very agitated and grabbed a random lightning bolt passing by him and raised it. It was clear that he was trying to throw it at Robin, but Sacker stood in his way again. As for Robin, he raised his palms in stupefaction at what was happening and looked right and left at the demon kings and emperors next to him, as if he were telling them, can you believe these fools? But one of the goblin kings did not understand Robin's confusion and shouted at Arrow. What is the problem if you gave that woman to the Lord to be his maid and warm his bed? This is an honor for you. Robin raised his hand and slapped his forehead, then turned back to look at Flora. Listen, I'm doing research on emperors right now, and I need someone in the emperor realm who can use the fourth stage of the laws to cooperate with me. That's all. Don't let your imagination take you too far. Flora's terrified features calmed down a little and she replied, Why me? Standing in the vanguard means that you have a respectable leadership role, and this means that a large number will respect your decision. Secondly, you have great power that rivals Ammonius. Even though you are young in age, you were the second to accept sacrifice after your leader, the bull, and this is evidence of your talent and that you will be of greater benefit to my research. Thirdly, I see many people of the same lineage as you among the emperors, and this is enough to speak of the influence of your tribe on the planet, and that they will do what they can to ensure that you remain safe during the 5 years and prevent anyone from thinking of any useless tricks. And last, that electrical brother wants to protect you and will most likely not break an agreement if you take part in it. Do you want other reasons? Robin waved unconcernedly. Flora was silent for a moment. What is it for us if I come with you and help you with this research? Will you order the demons to leave us alone? Please don't overestimate yourself. I would have given you 10 years of peace in exchange for the sacrifice method. Do you think I would give up on this entire planet for you? Robin spoke condescendingly. Actually, whether you refuse or not doesn't matter. If I start the battle now, I will be able to capture a bunch of you alive. I just want to avoid losing a number of my emperors, so let's do it like this. My offer is a 5-year truce. Within 5 years, I want you to completely move around the city with a promise from me that the demon emperors will not leave the city either. I also want the bodies of the law users that you lot sacrificed. If you accept this and come with me quietly, after the end of the 5 years, I will return you to your family without a scratch. You want me hostage then? Flora furrowed her eyebrows slightly. Interpret it as you wish. Are you in or not? Robin shrugged slightly. Of course not. Aru shouted at Robin and then turned back to look at Flora. It's a trap. He wants to remove the emperors of both parties from the equation and leave the rest of the demon army to wreak havoc on the world. Isn't that what we're trying to prevent in the first place? Robin quickly responded, I will prevent the demon army from advancing, except for hunting parties that will go out to hunt randomly and in small numbers. Isn't this what you have been doing all your history? During the 5 years, you may consider this city as another tribe. Its hunting parties would go out to kill or be killed. But if I heard that you have allocated elite teams to confront our hunting teams, I will consider you have broken the deal and the army will march. Nonsense. We give you the bodies of hundreds of thousands of our brothers to eat after we gave them a decent burial. And we leave demon hunting parties to hunt our sons to feed more of your kings so that they will turn into emperors. And then what? After the end of 5 years, we find that the number of demon emperors in your army has doubled. Do you think we are fools? Forget it. Aru shouted forcefully. None of this seemed to go their way. Robin smiled. This is your problem. Whether you want a 5-year truce, perhaps thinking of other solutions, or you want to declare war and death today. In either case, I have no problem. I will give you 5 minutes to decide. The demons around Robin did not open their mouths as their lord spoke, but they were really hoping inside that the enemy emperors would reject the offer so that they could begin a war of annihilation immediately. As for Robin, he was acting as if he did not care in order to frighten the emperors of the orphan blood planet even more, but he really wanted to make this deal. Firstly, where would he get an emperor who could use the 4th stage and that emperor would be willing to cooperate with him in research except in this way? Even if all the enemy emperors were arrested and they refused to cooperate, they would be of no use. Secondly, sending miniature squads to hunt in a small and random manner. Isn't this what the demons were sent here for in the first place? Their poaching is what changed the situation to what it is. When some were about to shout at Robin in disapproval and others were hesitating whether to try to convince Flora or not. There's no need to wait. I agree. Flora, you don't have to accept this. Aru barely restrained himself and tried to deter her from her decision. You go back and think about something. Don't waste the opportunity of 5 years. Dying today will do us no good. Flora spoke solemnly, then lit the flame on her body for a moment. So all the blood and dust burned away, and her injured lips became red again. Then she began to advance towards Robin. Slowly under the eyes of Arrow and the rest of the emperors in a humiliating scene. No one said anything to stop it or say that they rejected the truce. It was like someone putting a sword to your neck and asking you whether you want to die today or in 5 years. There was only one right answer. So even Aru, whom everyone heard the sound of his teeth gnashing, did not say anything. As for Robin, he looked from top to bottom at the amazingly beautiful girl who came down to stand in front of him. A big smile appeared on his face. Welcome. 2 hours ago, under a giant tree with pointed, brown leaves. Will there be anything new today, or will we rely on Tribe Master Aru and Noble Miss Flora to attack them as usual? A person with a face full of pimples spoke in a slightly angry tone. Do you have another suggestion? Don't tell me you're still trying to make us attack them with all our might, right? Another person with red eyes and red hair responded. And what's the problem with that? Tribal Master Aru and Noble Miss Flora attack them almost every day and start fair challenges under our supervision. The demons are used to this situation now, and perhaps they are looking forward to us coming today to watch the show. Why should we give these strangers fair challenges in the first place? I suggest we strike with all our strength today and kill a large number of their emperors before we leave. This will be a devastating blow to them, and we will be able to completely annihilate them. Wasn't this the plan in the first place? This time, Aru was the one who responded, and this is still the plan, but you see for yourself that whenever we went, we found all of their emperors lined up on the wall, ready for battle. It has been almost 2 years since this total siege began, and they still have not relaxed their defenses even a little. Even if we attack with all our strength now, it will not only be one-on-one battles against their emperors, but rather their entire army will join the battle. If this happens, then our naked back will be exposed. An old man with closed eyes stepped forward and spoke respectfully. Tribe Master Aru, I understand what you are saying. I really appreciate your plan, but don't you see that the long breath policy is not to our advantage? Even under siege, they are still becoming emperors while we have to kill countless numbers to reach our level. How long will we wait? until they add 20 or 50 more emperors into their ranks. By then, even the siege will not work. Yes, why do we wait for the number of emperors on their side to increase before we increase our numbers as well? Support my proposal and let us create 10 emperors today and use the numerical difference to attack. Or have you all become soft now because all those remaining are your close families? Another person with a white tail shouted angrily. Flora, who was leaning on the tree trunk indifferently, straightened up as the flame caught on her hair. Hoi Shahalif, I realize that you are angry because you sacrificed all of your tribe's cultivators. But the alliance leader did not order it. Tribe Master Aru did not order you to do what you did. You did it yourself with the principle of punishing yourself before others kill you. You knew that we would not have chosen an old fart like you to be an emperor and that your worthless tribe was going to be sacrificed anyway. So you did what you did willingly. Don't come to us and blame. Did I even open the topic? Did I open the topic? The white-tailed person looked like he was about to collapse, but he kept his words as respectful as possible. Aru raised his palm to calm Flora down, then looked at the white-tailed person firmly. Do you think the decision to make sacrifices was painless and arresting the volunteers was that easy? After the first group of sacrifices was arrested, the army disbanded and they fled each in a direction, so we now have to turn every rock and dry up rivers to find some volunteers. The fact that we can still keep up with these monsters is a miracle. Secondly, even if they were all in front of me waiting to be sacrificed, I would not have chosen that. We have committed enough sins and almost completely destroyed the civilization of our world. There are only a small number of cultivators left, only enough to make 27 emperors or help me reach level 46. Adding 27 emperors, or even strengthening me, will be a great help against their emperors, but when their army intervenes on their side, this advantage will quickly disappear and we will return to a state of balance. Secondly, if we kill them all, then literally everything we know will collapse. What would be there to protect anymore? We have to keep them. We have to protect them and increase their numbers, not kill more. You mean increasing the number of cultivators of the Thunder Bull and Red Flame Dragon tribes? Another emperor spoke in a low voice. The Thunder Bull tribe also made sacrifices and everyone knows. Aru pointed towards the person who spoke and shouted, the sound of thunder rumbling slightly in the sky. I did not say anything. In front of the frightened emperor, Aru lowered his arm and looked around a little. The word fragile is not enough to describe this alliance. This is to be expected since most of those present are tribe masters and geniuses from scattered tribes that were warring with each other just a few years ago. It is like an alliance between a snake and a mongoose, each of them looking at the enemy with one eye and his so-called ally with the other. The only reason for the existence of an alliance at all is the presence of Aru and Flora. One of them is a military and martial genius who led his previously insignificant tribe to be among the 5 most powerful tribes in the world, and the other is a descendant of the strongest and most ancient tribe in the world. If the two had not supported each other, the resistance would have collapsed years ago, and not at the hands of the demons, but rather the tribes would have fought among themselves. Aru finally let out a long exhale. All of you, don't worry. When was the last time I let down someone who trusted me? Count on me. Soon I will select a team from you and we will launch a planned attack that will paralyze the demon's movements for at least 3 years. Even if I die during the attack, you will be sure of its success. Just trust me a little more. Of course, of course. As long as Tribe Master Aru speaks, who are we to oppose? Tribe Master Aru never broke his promise. I've always trusted you, nephew. Dozens of emperors praised with smiles that seemed fake, and their facial expressions showed a mixture of helplessness with a little pit of reassurance. But what else was in their hands? Aru did not ask for the position of alliance leader kindly, but rather crushed everyone who opposed him. He was already invincible when he was still at the peak of the sage level. So what now that he forced them to collect sacrifices for him and reach level 43 Emperor's realm? He is a person that can't be played with. But at the same time, he never broke a word that left his mouth. Even though he is still a young man, not more than 100 years old, his stories in the world are countless and he has wide fame. If he said that he would save a person, he would save him even if he was in the clutches of death. and if he said that if he destroys anyone, he would destroy him and everyone who bears his family name. Fear mixed with some respect. This is how everyone sees the Thunder Bull Aru. But can he perform another miracle in these circumstances? No one knows, and no one has a say in that either. They can only reveal some of their anxiety and then immediately give some praise. Between all that fake praise and fake smiles, Flora took a few steps to stand in front of Aru, then gently extended her hand until she reached the back of his head. Don't worry. I'm sure you'll buy us some time. Just promise me that you'll choose me on that team. Aru looked at her with eyes full of love instead of anger. Then he also extended his hand and pulled her towards him until their foreheads touched. You know I can't promise that, but I will always try to have you by my side. I always try. Present time. Flora slowly landed, and he stood next to Robin with her head raised high. Her clothes and external injuries were mostly treated after that red flame ignited within her, and she tried in her looks to show strength and firmness as much as possible. But her severed arm and the turbulent heartbeat cast all these appearances aside. Ah! Aru screamed until her lungs nearly burst. The cloudy sky above him split in half and rained down lightning bolts that melted the ground. The demons all took a defensive stance. Even Sakaar looked serious, as he had never seen Aru this angry before. Only Robin looked at him with a half-smirk stuck on his face. Aru finally managed to calm down a little and pointed at Robin with his index finger. You remember what happened today. Then he flew away. The rest of the Orphan Blood Planet Emperors looked at each other for a moment before following Aru. No one was left behind except Flora, who felt like she had become like a lifeless doll. Robin let out a long exhale as he looked towards the horizon and put his hands behind his back. I have to admit, it's a completely different place out here. No wonder they call it Orphan Blood. In addition to the huge number of orphans and widows left behind by the existential war here, the place itself is suspiciously bloody. I wonder if the nature of the world of this world affected the population, or is the bloodiness of the population that affects the nature of the world. Since Robin's last step outside the space portal, he was immediately preoccupied with the current events. He had no time to spend contemplating his surroundings, only now did he have this opportunity. Unlike the blue sky on both Jura and Nahari planets, and the light green sky on planet Greenland, the crimson color was dominant here. In the sky, there are 6 small crimson suns moving quickly. They appear in a bloody twilight and disappear after several minutes in a sunset before reappearing again randomly. The clouds were also affected by the color of the sky and the sun, so they took on a dark red shade. Of course, the general atmosphere and even the soil were not spared from this irritating color. As for the trees around the city walls, they were full of thorns instead of leaves, and the ground exuded a dark sap that Robin had never seen before, but it was clear that the soil was not suitable for growing anything edible. Just by looking, I can see resources and minerals that are supposedly scarce in Jura, Greenland, and even in Nahari planets lying everywhere here, but I can also understand the way this world works, where the strong literally eat the weak. This place is destined for bloodshed. There is no safety or stable system of governance in an environment where the laws of bloodlust and chaos are common. It's a miracle they still have the tribal system. Robin shook his head as he looked around and saw Amon and Sakaar approaching and floating in the air next to him. Amon, who was completely healed, asked hesitantly, "The laws of bloodlust and chaos. Emotions like bloodlust have laws, Lord, and even chaos is governed by a law. Everything is governed by laws. Amon, you yourself are a moving mass of laws." Robin showed a slight smile. Have you never thought that there are places you go to be happy and other places that make you sad? These places have the laws of those emotions accumulated to a certain extent, and it seems that this is what happened here as well, but in this case, bloodlust has taken over throughout the planet. You have to be extremely clear-headed to be able to ignore this type of sensation and choose reason instead of bloodshed. Then why didn't the Lord create any techniques for the laws of emotions? The Lord created hundreds of techniques until today. Amon asked again. Robin laughed. Why would I make a technique for emotions? Increasing the bloodlust, anger, And all those negative emotions without really increasing strength means creating suicide soldiers, and reducing these types of emotions creates insensitive people that are no different between them and stones. There are certain things that should not be tampered with and should be left as they are because there is no point in messing with it. The laws of emotions are one of them. Then he furrowed his eyebrows slightly, and there are other laws that even if I wanted to tamper with them, I can't. Until this moment, I thought that death was the only law that gave me this warning to back off, but today the law of chaos took second place. To this degree. Amon asked again. Sakar seemed to be listening carefully as well. Robin smiled and looked around for a bit, then pointed towards a small purple tree near the wall. This tree over there is full of life and is still young, but the law of chaos is starting to accumulate on it. Something is going to happen very soon. Let's see together. After a few seconds, the tree left its roots and flew upwards until it disappeared over the horizon. Haha, well, that was very random. I thought it was going to weather or something. Even Robin couldn't suppress his laughter. This is what's happening then. We thought the locals wanted to confuse us with these strange events. A few days ago, the water well caught on fire. Morin came floating over and approached Robin, accompanied by a number of demon kings and emperors. Even Flora, who was floating in the air with a stray gaze. Her eyes seemed to have come back to life again as she listened to Robin. She is a local and knows this type of chaotic event to the point that it has become a reality and should not be questioned. This was the first time she heard anything about the law of chaos. What you saw and experienced is nothing but a slight interference from the law of chaos, just a simple disturbance to this world. According to what I see, the law of chaos interferes with other laws and influences them to work in a strange and illogical way. But the proportion of the law of chaos here is still within the reasonable limit, and if this law were to increase even a little bit, it would become impossible to live here. Then he clapped once. The important thing is, I intended to stay here for a while to conduct some research in this world, but it seems that this will not be possible. The chaos here will double the time needed to complete anything important. It is better for me to return to Greenland. So fast, my lord. Amon's voice sounded sad. Robin nodded, still looking around with his golden eyes. You don't need me for the next while. Just stay near the space portal to protect it and send reasonable hunting parties as promised to collect food for the Demon Kings. Try to increase the number of emperors among you to as many as possible within 5 years. Oh, and be prepared to protect yourself against a surprise attack at any time, because I do not imagine that they will keep the 5-year pact for too long. Humph. Flora bellowed angrily but did not add another word. Moraine nodded but did not agree completely. We will prepare as you ordered, Lord, but there is no need to worry too much. As you saw, Aru accepted the agreement and left. This means that he will most likely keep his promise. Sakar didn't say a word but nodded. Robin raised his eyebrows slightly and looked at Sakar. Oh, even you vouch for your enemy's truthfulness in a life or death situation like this. He seems to be a more interesting character than he seems. But that doesn't change my will. Even if he doesn't do it, there are many others. Yes, my lord. Morin and the rest of the Demons Kings nodded. Then Robin returned to looking at Flora with a half-smile. Have you ever dreamed of leaving your world before? Central Continent, the hidden space portal in the forests. The space portal on the other side has been activated. Prepare to receive the arrivals. The guards around the gate stood and took defensive positions, while a number of other weak ones approached the space portal in a submissive manner to help carry anything that came out of that space portal, or perhaps treat the injured. Who is coming? Is the Lord back? A young demon started jumping and looking at the space portal excitedly, and he was not alone. Currently, there are tens of thousands of demons of different ages around the gate. Less than an hour ago, the Lord came here to check on the situation. Then he used the portal to go to the farm planet. This news spread like wildfire among the demon families, and a large number of them came to the portal to see the Lord for the first time. But all these events did not take more than a few minutes, and when most of them arrived, they were found that the Lord had already left for the farm planet. But this did not prevent more and more demon families from gathering here to hear a description of His Excellency from those who saw him and more news about that legendary person. the person who gave them the ability to hear, speak, and use soul sense after they were handicapped, the person who protected them from the oppression of the Nahari giants after they drove them like livestock and killed their cubs while they slept. Like insects, the person who allocated half a continent to them to be under their control and helped them build a society after they were traveling astray in the form of small families consisting of a few hundred individuals, and many other things that the Lord changed in their lives. Many things that they will never forget even if they try. Robin's solutions to them were techniques that can be practiced when the demon reaches a certain level of strength and intelligence. It was not a radical solution. Therefore all their cubs are still born without the sense of sight and hearing, and thus they also cannot speak. When their parents see them like this, they will automatically remember their race's painful past. And they will remember the person who pulled them out of it when they use his techniques on their cubs. So even after the Lord left more than an hour, large numbers of demons were still flocking to the gate's vicinity until this moment. You are dreaming. The magnificent Lord has just left. I bet he knew about the siege on the farm planet, so he went to them to help. He will definitely stay for months or even years to help our fathers and ancestors win, and he will definitely do it. The Lord is invincible. A skinny demon shouted, raising both hands. But at least one of our warriors will come and tell us about what the Lord did, right? Look, someone has come out. Is it a human? Is he one of the rune masters? As the crowds began to guess who this was, the space portal guards fell to their knees. We salute the Lord and welcome his safe return. Lord. It is truly Lord. That young demon shouted and quickly knelt down, accompanied by his family and those around him. As for the skinny demon, he fell to his knee and hit his head on the ground. The Lord has returned. This means we have won the war. The Lord is invincible. The Lord is almighty. We salute the Lord. We salute the Lord. Robin nodded contentedly towards the large crowd in front of him and began waving at them kindly and muttering in a voice that only the person standing next to him could hear. It is good to know that the new generation of demons still appreciate what I did for them. As for the person who came out of the space portal to him, Flora, she was not in the mood to listen to Robin's words, since she stepped outside the space portal and was looking around in shock. This, I wonder, does your shock come from the fact that you are experiencing entering another world for the first time? Or because there are millions of demons on the other side of the space portal? Or perhaps you now understand that your siege all those years was useless and that the demons can bring whatever food they need from here to stay alive. In front of Flora's gaze, Robin couldn't help but laugh. Flora herself had no answer to this question. Everyone on the Orphan Blood planet knows well about the Metal Arch, how demons who approach it disappear, and that there are demons who come out of it from time to time, but they thought that this Metal Arch led to the interior of the earth, or even to hell, where, for example, will these barbaric creatures that only know how to shed blood come from? The Orphan Blood planet, with its 6 red suns that give it its crimson color, its high temperature, the absence of almost any agricultural crops, and the presence of all those warring races. Isn't it itself considered hell? How can the people of that world imagine a hell worse than the one they live in? And they were able to imagine that hell from which the demons came. A barren, dark place that did not have their bright suns, their rivers that could be cleaned and drunk, nor their trees whose sap could be drunk. This is why they gathered together and decided to protect the bounties of their world from those horrible demons. But she was met with a clear blue sky and gentle golden sunshine, a breath of fresh air, and the soothing sound of rustling leaves when she extended her soul sense just a little and found a running river of fresh water and a large number of weak beasts that could be easily hunted. She even found huge sea beasts being dismembered at this moment, and each sea beast corpse was enough to feed thousands of people for weeks. It even found vast lands planted with different crops to feed domesticated beasts, and an entire agriculture system is based on white creatures that resemble humans, but they are not human. This place, is it paradise? And in this bliss do millions of demons live. Although she had not spotted any emperor among them, there were undoubtedly tens or even hundreds of thousands of sages and saints here. You live in this place, and we, Flora muttered she felt like she wanted to cry bitterly, but she held back her tears. Do those dirty demons live in a place like this? But they are still not satisfied and come to kill them. Robin understood some of her questions and stopped waving at the demons. Yes, the demons live here. Even on Nahari planet they had very close natural conditions, but do the natural conditions amount to everything? Do you think that if you had lived in this world, your situation would have changed? Maybe your food shortage problem would have been solved, but it is impossible for you to live in peace. You would have killed each other anyway to taint the soil with blood and the rivers turned red. I do not fault you personally, but according to my experience, this is the case with all intelligent beings. Planet Jura only had humans, and yet they found any trivial reason to shed each other's blood, such as the appearance of a metal mine or that a noble wanted a new piece of land. There is no justice in these matters. There is only greed for what is available, and even ant colonies are ready to kill each other in exchange for a piece of candy. You are the last person to talk about justice. You saw our world. If you are so smart, then tell me who among us should invade whom. Flora's already red eyes became redder as she stared at Robin with obvious hatred. Tens of thousands of demons felt Flora's hatred and killing intent toward their lord, so they stood ready to tear her apart. But Robin raised his right hand and motioned for them to calm down, then pointed at Flora. Even a level 42 Empress would not survive an angry mob that includes millions of law users, and I don't want to lose an important research subject like you. Come with me, we will go to a quieter place. After these words, Robin flew up, and Flora could hardly control her nerves and flew after him. A number of senior demons tried to accompany them, but Robin refused and told them to stay where they were. Then he continued flying towards the west, accompanied by Flora, alone. A few hours later, Central Continent, the imperial capital. Hey, I'm gonna take a nap. One of the guards standing atop the high city wall yawned. TSK, last time you said you were gonna go pee and you were gone for an hour, now you say nap, who knows how many hours you'll be gone. The other guard was sitting on a chair, putting his foot on another chair, and in his hand was a small dagger that he was throwing up and down to pass the time. And what is the problem with that? It's not like I'll miss anything. Come on, man. Cover for me if the supervisors pass by here. I just need 2 hours. And I'll cover for you when I come back and let you do whatever you want. That guard started poking his friend in the shoulder. You cover me and I cover you. Are we here to guard or to play you clown? The other guard was fed up and hit his colleague on the stomach with the backside with the dagger. Ouch. Brother, what's your problem? The entire planet has been united and everyone in the city is either veterans who spent years at Greenland or members of the Burton family who receive the best cultivation and resources. This city is literally a huge military barracks. And not far from here lies the headquarters of the demons, and you know how high their loyalty to His Excellency. Who would dare attack this place? I don't even know what we're guarding the city against. I feel like we're stealing the city by taking this salary. The other guard stood up and was about to argue with him further, but a voice from afar answered on his behalf. Haha. I don't blame you for thinking this way. This place was actually built to be a fortress, but we still need to be aware of the danger of beasts. Until this moment we still do not know anything about the beasts and how strong they are, and I don't believe that the beasts that do not need to cultivate in order to strengthen themselves not have a few members that can threaten the safety of the city. There might even be beasts as powerful as an emperor hiding here or there that we haven't heard of yet. Who's there? Your Excellency. Your Excellency. The two guards quickly gave the military salute. Rest. Robin landed comfortably, and behind him was a woman more than 2.5 meters tall. Your Excellency, please give us a few minutes. We will inform the city officials of your arrival. The two guards bowed down, and because of his extreme tension, he forgot that the dagger was still in his hand till this moment. Robin nodded. All right, you can go. But I want to stand alone with this miss for a while before I come down from the wall myself or give you the signal to approach. I don't want anyone to come to me after you. Okay. Yes, Your Excellency. The two saluted again and retreated. This was not a tone of fear but of respect. This is quite rare for a murderous tyrant like you. Flora's voice came from behind Robin. Robin smiled and did not respond to her sarcasm. but rather pointed towards the huge city in front of them. Tell me, what do you see? Flora looked around slowly. The high towers pierced the sky. The gardens scattered everywhere, the clean artificial rivers that ran through the city. The shops full of goods and entertainment centers full of children. The open-air cultivation grounds where young people competed. Guards wearing shiny golden armor roaming the streets to ensure security. In it, adults and kids in the streets treat each other with love and respect. And even the challenges between them are friendly, in which no one is injured. Why not, when they are all relatives of His Excellency or descendants of great warriors who fought under his banner? In addition to the beautiful atmosphere and abundant food, everything here seemed new and thriving. Everything seemed perfect. Wherever she looked, she seemed to see Eden. This is Eden, Flora mumbled, a few drops of tears falling from her eyes without her realizing it. But then she quickly wiped them away and looked at Robin with anger in her gaze. How many lives did you take to build this place? I don't know, but for the sake of the conversation, let's say tens of millions. Robin responded with a frown without the slightest change in his voice. Greed blinded the people of this world. When I showed the things I can do, they attacked my city, destroyed it, killed most of my family members, and indirectly caused the death of my wife and the torture of my only biological son. But the one who had the last laugh was me, as you see. I united the entire planet through a sea of blood, and in the end, I reached this result that you see now. Cool, huh? Cool. You are a monster. Ahahaha. Robin couldn't help himself and laughed out loud. I can sense 17,000 different law shards in levels 41 and 42. It seems that you were unable to find 9,000 saints and sages like the bullhead and had to add thousands of knights to fill the gaps. You alone used 17,000 cultivators to get to this power. Let's assume that you were forced to sacrifice all of them in order to gain power and achieve peace. Isn't that what I did too? Please don't be a whore and talk to me about honor. How does this compare to that? We're fighting for our lives. Flora shouted excitedly. And I'm fighting for everyone's lives. Robin replied firmly, then turned to look into her eyes. Secondly, don't you do the same thing every day? At least my war here was clear. They attacked me for what I had, and I killed them for my revenge and for the sake of uniting the planet under my authority. But you killed and ate each other because of what? Because you look different. This food shortage issue is trivial. You can simply raise domestic beasts and eat them, or just stop reproducing like rabbits. But hating the different races has simply blinded you all. At least I managed to unite my planet after the bloodbath, and now we are pointing our swords at other planets. As for you, are not even capable of dreaming of this type of unification. Look into my eyes and say that you would not have washed your planet with blood if you had known that the result would be true unification. Flora almost argued again, but she quickly closed her mouth and looked at Robin with a cold gaze. What is the reason for this conversation? You don't need to explain anything to me. I am but a mere hostage. Robin looked into her eyes for a few seconds before returning to watching the city with his hands behind his back. I don't know either. Maybe I'm still trying to justify myself for invading your planet. Or maybe I've taken pity on your talent and want you to be more than just a hostage. More than just a hostage in what way? You said that you intend to use me to conduct experiments on the emperors, or are you going to break your promise now? I know that I am just a hostage in another world now, but you still need to know your limits. Clear killing intent flashed in Flora's eyes. Robin raised his eyebrows for a moment before he started laughing. Ha ha. Your thinking has gone too far. You are not my type, so don't worry about anything perverted. I also know that there is something between you and the young bull called Aru. This is evident in your gazes and his screams. I honestly don't know how a love story arose between two people of different races on a hellish planet like this, but it is clear that it actually happened somehow. I will keep my promise. I will perform some experiments on you without humiliating you in any way, and you will return to your world after 5 years. It's good that you understand. Flora calmed down a little, thinking about it. What's the deal with these experiments? Don't you have dozens of demon emperors under your command? And they all use the 4th stage of the laws as well. Why me? What kind of experiments are you going to conduct on me? I will remind you again to know within limits. Demons are a race that I have not fully understood yet. During your fight against Amon, I realized that I would not be able to understand the energy pathways in his body anytime soon, and even if I did, I would be able to replicate it for humans, but you, as a descendant of humans, I can see through you easily. During your short fight, I was able to deduce several things already. Robin returned to looking at the dazzling city in front of him. Smiling, the experiments will be simple. You will carry out fourth-stage attacks in front of me in the manner I ask, that's all. You can continue doing this until the 5 years are over and return to your beloved, as long as you don't want anything more, of course. Descendant of humans. I am a descendant of red flame dragons. Don't compare me to your worthless race. Your kind was there at the orphan blood world, but were all wiped out before I was even born. Flora looked down with eyes full of hatred and derogatory. Secondly, no one would want anything from a little thug like you. A little thug. A little one at that. Robin turned to face Flora. You mentioned knowing my limits more than once as well. Wait a minute. You don't think you can kill me at any time, do you? Flora didn't answer, but maintained a derogatory look at him. A bit of killing intent flashing in her eyes again. Ha ha ha, so this why I've been sensing your killing intent ever since we left Demon City. I thought you were just hating me, so I didn't care. Were you thinking about whether you should kill me or not? Maybe the only thing stopping you from trying was your fear of the demons' reaction when they found out. Isn't this the truth? What keeps you away from death is one slap from me. Don't think that your little trick in the face of a ruse attack will scare anyone. You were definitely hiding some kind of gear, but that kind of gear will not help you against a physical attack. Flora tilted her head and crossed her arms in front of her plump chest, the confidence evident in her words. And she was really confident of killing him. The only problem is what Robin mentioned, which is that the demons now know about the weak point of the orphan blood world. If the news of the death of their lord reaches them, they will certainly not leave anything without taking a bit out of it. This idea terrified her even more after she saw the millions upon millions of demons behind the space portal, ready to storm in at any time. So Robin's death is literally at her hands. She just doesn't see much point in doing so. Not yet at least. But she does not rule out cutting his throat if Robin tries to do something he shouldn't. Ha ha. Ha. Why do I feel like you're not joking? Robin's laughter calmed down little by little until it stopped completely, and a look of stupefaction covered his face instead. Do you think that a weak person will unite this world? Do you think that the demons who forced you to sacrifice your own people will volunteer to serve me because they are good-hearted? Flora stared into Robin's eyes for a few seconds, then looked him down and up before raising her right shoulder. Robin held the bridge of his nose and shook his head in that condescending manner. I can't continue working with you when this is your idea of me. Otherwise you will always think that you have more options other than obedience. I have to change your view of me first. I'd like to see you try. A challenging smile appeared on Flora's face, and her slouched stance also turned into a defensive one. Robin shook his head and sighed, then looked around until finally, he pointed in a certain direction. See that dagger over there? Flora looked in that direction. Even with her sharp eyesight as a level 42 emperor, she had to squint a little to determine what Robin was referring to. It turned out that Robin was pointing towards the 2 guards whom he had ordered to leave a short while ago. The 2 guards were at the beginning levels of Saint's Realm, and under Robin's permission to inform the leaders of the city, they flew away as fast as they could to carry out the order. They had already traveled several miles and had approached the main command center in the city. As for the dagger that Robin mentioned, it is the dagger that the guard was playing with a while ago and is currently tied to his waist. Yes, I see. What about it? Why did you suddenly change the subject? Flora's mocking tone suddenly changed as the scene in front of her also changed. A moment ago, she saw the backs of the 2 guards flying quickly with the dagger on the waist of one of them, but now she saw Robin floating in front of her with his right hand behind his back and his left hand holding a blade. That blade was touching the pupil of her right eye. That blade. It was the dagger attached to the guard's waist. The dagger, which was more than 6 kilometers away. At this moment, a ringing sound came from under Flora's feet. She automatically looked down without moving a muscle and found metal rings on the floor, all of them precisely cut and from the same point. At first sight, she recognized them. They were the 6 metal rings that were adorning her ears. Flora wanted to scream, but no sound came out, and her body, the body of a level 42 Empress, froze in place. Her mind stopped working at this moment, but even if it worked at full efficiency, what could she do? If Robin extends his hand a little longer, the dagger will pierce her eyes and destroy her brain. Is she supposed to gain speed and run back? Use speed to win against a person who traveled a distance of more than 12 kilometers back and forth and cut off her 6 earrings with precision as if he was cutting cheese, and then found enough time for himself to strike a flashy pose in front of her eyes. Robin left her for a few seconds to comprehend the situation before he continued in a cold tone, while still staring into her eyes. Listen carefully. Woman, I am a person who loves absolute power without a partner. If you want those 5 years to go as promised, then this will be the last time you challenge me or even hear a tone that I do not like from you. TSK, I had to sacrifice the 35th foundation for this nonsense. If I feel you disrespecting me again, what will be cut off will not be the 6 rings, but your neck, your heart, your 2 eyes, your liver, and your spinal cord. Then I will return to the orphan blood planet and I will bring 2 or 3 other emperors back to replace you. Was that clear? Gulp. Understood. Robin's cold features turned into a gentle smile again, and then he turned the dagger in his hand so that the handle was now facing Flora's eyes. Good girl, return this dagger to its owner. We don't want him to think we stole it, right? Yes. Flora suddenly appeared in front of the 2 guards, forcing them to stop with difficulty. Ah, what do you want from us? The scene of Flora, when she was standing loosely behind His Excellency and giving him derogation gazes in front of them, was still stuck in their minds, so her appearance now prompted the 2 guards to take a defensive position. Flora didn't say anything. She didn't seem to hear anything. Her eyes were stunned and her face looked like a mixture of fear and shock, so she just gently threw the dagger at one of them. Then with a swoosh she disappeared from in front of them and headed towards the wall to stand behind Robin again. What's wrong with this big woman? The guard remained in a defensive position until Flora moved away to a safe distance. Only then did he relax a little and look at the object she threw at him. Damn, isn't that my dagger? It is my dagger. Why isn't it on my waist? You never leave this thing on your side. Did you forget it on the wall when you saw His Excellency? Maybe. I don't know, I can almost swear it was tied to my waist. Phew, it's good that he came back to me. Maybe I should thank her later. Let's go. It was not long before a crowd of old people appeared. They all approached until they stood at a safe distance from the wall and waited until Robin permitted them to come closer. When they arrived, they all bowed and began to introduce themselves. They were all either elders from the Burton family or advisors and senior officers who participated in the climax of the Greenland War. Through a few questions, Robin was reassured about the situation in the imperial capital, its residents, the method of preparing the new generation of young people, and the available education methods. After he was reassured about the basics of life and food resources in the city, and that his research and development team had opened another sky opening tower for them here so that they could help to constantly develop the city, he decided to leave for Greenland to begin his research on Flora. But the crowd in front of him did not take this decision lightly. Your Excellency, what will the residents of your city say when they learn that their emperor came to the wall and did not take a step inside? Please at least come and take a look at your palace. It didn't take the elders long to convince Robin to waste some time in the city and then visit his imperial palace, which he had never seen before. This was the first time that Robin entered his imperial city as well, the city that was built with all the riches of the Jura planet after the Unification War to be a symbol of power and authority. And it is clear from the designs of everything he sees that its city builders took this point into account. In addition to the high towers that suggest strength and the widespread green spaces that inspire peace with their artificial waterfalls, even the residential areas are dramatic palaces. At each corner, there is a thick metal rectangle the length of an adult man. The children would place their hands on it for a moment and say something and then go back to racing or doing challenges. When Robin asked about it, he found that these are tablets that can withstand 10,000 oaths. They were presented by the elders of the city to the public, and at the beginning of every year the runes on the tablets are destroyed, and then new runes are redrawn to be reused. He even found statues of himself at every crossroads. In front of the imperial palace, even Robin raised his eyebrows, marveling at the genius of the design and the luxury of the construction. The palace was surrounded by a hollow metal fence and beautifully trimmed trees. Since Robin crossed that metal fence, he had to fly for several minutes over vast green spaces and artificial lakes before he reached the palace building. As for the palace itself, it was in the shape of an octagon with a huge dome above it. Its color was milky white, without a speck of dust, and it had a strange shine under the sun as if it were made of pearls. Robin knew immediately what stone was used in this building. It was one of the hardest minerals on the planet, but it was not used in making weapons because reforming it is very difficult. The fact that they were able to find this amount of this specific mineral is a miracle in itself. When he asked the elders, they told him that they had bought a quantity of Nahari to complete the construction. The palace is surrounded by 8 smaller buildings, all of which are octagonal as well. The elders explained that these buildings were intended for servants and guards who were chosen at the highest level. The palace was completely isolated from the city, and the guards and servants were told not to make any unnecessary noises. They could even be evacuated altogether with a signal from Robin, so Robin no longer needed to hide underground to have some privacy. However, the elders led him to see a network of underground basements. This network of basements took up the entire area of the palace and almost a quarter of the area of the green spaces around it, making it a small underground village. Robin tried to send his soul sense to scan the network of basements and create a map of it in his mind, but he failed to penetrate it, and when he asked, he found that it was one of the properties of the stone designated for building the basements. Robin soon learned why that stone was chosen for construction. The map of the basement network showed a huge room in the middle, fully equipped for research if Robin insisted on being completely isolated. But it also showed the locations of many well-secured rooms, and between those rooms there was a huge maze. It was a prison from which there was no escape. When he asked them what this was, they told him that it was prepared in case he wanted to bring some things or some people to conduct experiments on them, so that each subject had its own room. When Robin heard this, he burst out laughing, "Ha ha ha, nice. It would be a waste if I didn't put it to good use. Well then, I'll try the palace for a few days." Even Flora, who remained silent, felt a shiver in her back. Doesn't this mean that she will be the first subject of experiments here? Should you be honored by this? After a few more tours of the palace and the exchange of some respectful words, the elders left Robin alone in the palace with Flora. Ha! Robin sat on his huge throne in a huge hall that can seat tens of thousands of people, then smiled at Flora standing in front of him. "All right, here we go. What are you waiting for? I want you to ignite everything you see using the 4th stage of the fire law." Ha ha ha. 2 years later, residence of the governor of the ancestral continent, formerly the palace of the king of the Black Sun Kingdom. What do you mean production decreased again? The person sitting at the governor's desk stood up and hit his desk with his palms. It was not known whether that person was 20 or 50 years old. His features were young, but his forehead was full of wrinkled lines from knitting his eyebrows. His eyes were strong and focused, but the skin around them was dark, and their whites were full of red lines due to the lake of sleep. His hair was black and went down to his shoulders, but the white hair had begun appearing from overthinking. His fingers with which he hit the desk are tight and strong, but their tips are bloody and uneven, a sign that he is eating them to relieve his anxiety. A 50-year-old man standing in front of him spoke quickly and agitatedly. "Your Highness Alfred, please calm yourself down. I went to the talisman workshop in the city of Burning Flowers myself to confirm that perhaps there had been an accident that had caused them to delay. But they said that some of the rune masters had taken a vacation and that was why production had decreased. Production has decreased by 80%. Did all the rune masters over there decide to take vacations at the same time? And that happened the moment we asked for production to increase as well. Alfred's shouts became more intense. What about the divine smith factories I asked you to visit? Since the person in charge of that area, St. Peter Burton, died under mysterious circumstances, and all the divine blacksmith factories are working as they please. Every time I visit one, I hear that some of them are sick, some of them want to spend time with their families, and others are demanding salary increases. The man in his 50s looked away sadly, and not only the blacksmith factories and rune workshops, but the strikes and production disturbances have reached the beast farms, quarries, and search teams for ink supplies. Almost everything related to military equipment has been paralyzed since the request from the Shadow Swords to increase production. A disaster. This is a complete disaster. Alfred felt that his leg could no longer support the weight of his body as he collapsed in place. When Billy Burton decided that sitting behind a desk was no longer suitable for him and that he wanted to go to work as a general, he found no one better than Alfred Marley to be his successor. Firstly, because there is no living member of the Burton family who has experience in administration, since almost all the elders died in the Siege of the ill-fated Jura City. Meanwhile, Alfred received administrative training worthy of a king. And secondly, because the Marleys took a strict oath to serve Robin. And of course, Alfred's loyalty to Robin was tested, and it cannot be doubted. When Alfred heard the news that he had been chosen to be the ruler of the entire ancestral continent, he felt extremely proud and swore that he would do everything in his power to live up to his excellency and prove to him that he had done nothing wrong by keeping the Marley family alive. But I wish I had refused. Oh, I wish I had refused. Alfred scratched his head with his uneven nails until they turned crimson. Governor, what do we do now? Before Alfred could shout that he didn't know, another voice spoke in the room. Leave us alone. KH. When the man in his 50s heard this artificial sound, he knew that one of the Shadow Swords had arrived, so he turned and quickly left the room. As for Alfred, he did not move, but rather the scratching of his head had begun to get tougher. Another Shadow Sword. What now? You came to tell me that I am a failure again. Do you all think that I do not already know this? Go and tell the superiors to bring in another ruler. I have had enough. Alfred, it's me. The shadow of a handsome, long-haired young man emerged from the darkness directly in front of Alfred. Alfred raised his head. Theo, you're back. I wasn't supposed to come back. Theo's reply was simple but meaningful enough. Alfred returned to putting his head in his hands. I understand. The reports of my failure reached you and made you abandon your mission in which you spent years. Then you came yourself to remove me from my position or even imprison me, right? I knew it was a matter of time. I am sorry. I should not have accepted this responsibility. The other 5 continents are all running perfectly because I am not their ruler. I am a waste of air. Theo looked sadly with pity for a few seconds before sighing. Obviously, I should have come earlier. We are indeed suffering from a lack of equipment, but I am not here to punish you. Get yourself together, Alfred. We know that this is not your fault. What do you mean? Aren't you here to make me stand down? Alfred raised his head in astonishment. No, we have known the cause of these disturbances for years, but we decided to ignore them and work out short-term solutions to manage the situation in order to focus on the big picture. But they pushed their luck a lot by starting a mass strike when we were ordered to increase production. Obstructing His Excellency's plans is courting death. Theo spoke only. Alfred stood up slowly with a disbelieving smile on his face. Really? Don't you blame me? I mean, what are you up to now? The entire continent is behaving strangely. Even the factories and workshops run by a member of the Burton family are currently facing difficulties. Theo replied with cold eyes. I will hand you 5,000 Shadow Swords, and there is an army of 50,000 elite law users coming from the Imperial City as we speak. They will all follow your orders. Assassinate whoever you have to assassinate and kill whoever you have to kill. If you feel that you have to exterminate entire families, do not hesitate to do it. And I also want you to force all workers in the field of military manufacturing to recite a strict oath that forces them to produce a specific quantity per month, and whoever refuses, kill him or force him to recite an oath not to forge anything again in his life. Military industrialization is not a place where anyone can tamper with. 5,000 shadow swords. I didn't even know there were that many. And 50,000 elites from the Imperial City. Do you mean the Greenland veterans? This will set the continent on fire again. It will remind everyone of the old fire whose ashes we have been working hard to cover. Reports say that those who went on strike, took leave, etc. have not stopped manufacturing. There are large quantities of divine weapons, talismans, and even arrays flooding the black market. But that is not what worries us, since we can retrieve those weapons easily. The real problem is that most of the productive capacity of these individuals has not yet appeared on the black market, meaning they are stashing it. What are they collecting military gear for, Alfred? Theo took a few steps until he reached the window. Is this production dwindling? Storing weapons in such quantities? Alfred opened his eyes to the end, but there is no other army on the planet Yora that would benefit from this weapon. Why would they do something like this? None yet. Theo tilted his head to the side. Whoever the hidden hand is behind what's happening is planning something big in the near future. We can't turn a blind eye any longer. We have to cut off that hand right now. Then he went back to looking out the window. You say we're going to light a fire, we were trying to cover its ashes. But their actions say they still see the ashes and they don't want to look away. If that's what they want, that's fine. Let's remind them of the past and light them on fire again. But Alfred clenched both hands. Theo turned to face him. Don't worry too much. You won't repeat the massacre exactly as it was. Just use the forces carefully, focus on protecting the military production, and provide options for the guilty. As I told you, they just should know that there are consequences and realize that they are not as immune as they think they are. That's all. You say that I will not repeat the massacre, but this campaign will leave thousands or even tens of thousands dead. The ancestral continent will remember again. Alfred sat helpless again. Good, let them remember. Theo turned to face Alfred again. I'm not here to put you on the spot or force you to do the dirty work. This is just the job of the governor, and this is why I'm addressing you. You can of course refuse and resign if you find that the task is too much for you. I'll do it. Planet Nahari, Northern Region, inside the palace of the leader of the Azul tribe. Boom. What do you mean you haven't found my great-grandson yet? A Nahari giant stood up and shouted so loudly that the ears of all the servants in the palace bleed. Although that giant did not have anything special on him, he was a giant of the same race as the Nahari giants, the same height as the rest. Perhaps the only thing that distinguished him was his large, untrimmed beard, and his body was full of muscles even for a giant. He also did not wear any clothes that suggested luxury, but rather his upper half was completely naked, and there was no noble aura around him. On the contrary, he emitted a strong thirst for blood. However, he was definitely not an ordinary person. Anyone who saw him would automatically feel the need to kneel. If Richard had been here, he would have recognized him immediately. He was the leader of the Al-Azul tribe, the person who ordered the killing of his mother, the chief of the Azul tribe, Dewuder. Please calm down, Your Majesty. The search is still ongoing and we may find him at any time. Another giant who was kneeling in front of him responded. That giant's aura said that he had reached the maximum potential of the third stage of the body-strengthening divine tattoo, to the point that he was no longer absorbing energy to strengthen himself, meaning that he was at the top of the dragon realm. The search has been going on for 10 days. My great-grandson Shamsun is the loudest person in the city. How is it possible that you haven't found him yet, you scum? The leader of the Azul tribe came forward and kicked the person kneeling in front of him. The kick didn't immediately kill him, but sent him smashing several walls. Father, our search for him was illogical from the beginning. Shamsun is a high-level dragon. Who could harm him without him making a sound? In fact, everyone knows who he is. Who would even dare to harm him inside the city? In my opinion, Shamsun encountered a very powerful figure and was probably killed. Either that, or he ran away to spend a few nights with a few girls somewhere and does not want anyone to know his whereabouts. And in both cases, searching for him will be of no use. Another giant sitting nearby spoke. That giant seemed calmer, but his aura wasn't much weaker than his father's. It was clear that he was an emperor as well. Shamsun doesn't need to hide with some women. He can get any woman he wants from the street. And who in the entire northern region would dare touch a man of my lineage, let alone Shamsun? Could they be the scoundrels of the Bazuna tribe? Years have passed since they accuse us of killing a number of their close men and hiding their bodies. They even cut off their relations with us in several ways. Do you think they wanted revenge for this? Damn, who do they think I am? If this is true, I will burn the entire northern region over their heads. The tribe leader, Daudar, kicked his throne and smashed the wall. It was clear that he was almost mad. Shamsun is less than 200 years old and has a great talent that qualifies him to receive a fourth stage of the body-strengthening divine tattoo. Then he turned back to look at the leader of the investigation team and you. If you don't find Shamsun, I will start my massacre by killing you all, you and all your families. If I may, Your Majesty, I think I know what happened to him, but the giant at the top of the dragon realm that had been kicked a moment ago returned to his knees again with a face covered in blood and began to look at the sun as if he was pleading. Speak up, no one will hurt you. The son of the chief of the Azul tribe, Saladar, spoke up, giving him protection in a cold tone. There are rumors circulating that Mr. Shamsun has become. The head of the investigation team paused for several seconds to gather his courage. Has become one of the midnight disappearances. Midnight disappearances. What is this? Prince Saladar furrowed his eyebrows. The tribe leader stopped his agitation and looked interested as well. This phenomenon began in the city many years ago. Every day after midnight, a few people disappear without a trace. This phenomenon has been repeated so often that the people of the city began to enter their homes and lock themselves in at the moment of sunset. Nightlife almost ceased because of this. But this did not stop the disappearances. Every day we find entire families who have disappeared from inside their homes. We do not know the actual number of those who have disappeared in this way, but the initial estimate says that it is more than 100,000, including quite a few shamans and dragons. The head of the investigation team explained with drops of sweat dripping from his forehead. You let criminals kidnap 100,000 residents of the great city of Azul over many years and did nothing. Even Saladar, who always looked like a piece of ice, felt his blood boil. The investigation has been ongoing for years, but we have not reached any results. For example, there are people who heard screams from the places of disappearances, and we found traces of fighting in them, but those traces do not lead anywhere else. We tried to ambush the perpetrators of these disappearances, but they did not fall into any trap, no matter how elaborate it was. It is as if they hear and see everything we do. We even asked for the help of army squads to secure the streets, but they all died in mysterious circumstances as well. Everyone says that whoever does this is an angry spirit. The tribe leader stepped forward slowly, as if he couldn't believe what he was hearing, then bent down to grab the investigation team leader's neck. Are you telling me that an angry spirit has kidnapped my great-grandson? The investigation team leader grabbed the tribe leader's hand to try to relieve the pressure on his neck a little, but he failed. He felt like his head was about to explode, and his eyes actually began to bulge out. Although I do not believe this explanation of the angry spirit thing, we must count Shamsun among this midnight disappearances for now. Saladar spoke calmly, as if he did not see what was happening to the person who had given him protection a short while ago. After blowing off the neck of the head of the investigation team, Chief Dawuder returned to looking at his son while soaking in blood. You are the head of the investigation team now. Someone who has touched someone of our lineage, Saladar. Bring me their head, bring me his head, even if you had to burn the city on the heads of its residents. Consider it done. Planet Jura, Central Continent, Throne Hall of the Imperial Palace. Boom! Flora fired an arrow of red flame, piercing a wooden doll. The doll turned into charcoal in the blink of an eye. Amazing! Amazing! Yes, keep this pace, small, quick attacks using the fourth stage of the major heavenly law of fire, and try to change the limp from which you launch your attack each time. Robin clapped and took another look around Flora, his golden eyes roaming over her body. Boom! Flora fired another fiery arrow with her left hand. then another with her horn, then another and another, but she seemed disturbed by something and couldn't bear it any longer. For heaven's sake, would you please stop observing my body like an expert pervert and just observe the arrows for once? Isn't the fourth stage of laws what you want? Haha. Is this still bothering you again? It's been 2 years already and you haven't gotten used to it yet. Robin laughed loudly, but he did not stop or even lift his eyes, which were still roaming over Flora's body. Robin's eyes were still roaming over Flora's body like crazy. To be more specific, he lowers his golden eyes below the navel area, then raises his eyes slightly upward, passing through her visible navel and up to her full chest, then her beautiful neck, then her red lips, passing through her charming, angry red eyes until he reaches her horns, and sometimes he turns behind her or to her side to see the same energy path but from different angles. And of course the path his eyes takes changes with every limb Flora intends to use. I will not get used to your perverted gazes even after 100 years. Flora spoke annoyed and shot another fiery arrow from her right leg. Haha. Don't worry. My eyes don't even see your skin. In my view now, you are a bag of blood veins and arteries. Robin laughed, but his eyes were following the path of the energy from the energy-gathering center, past her shapely thigh, and until the attack came out from her fingertips. You should know by now that I do not care about the fourth stage of the law itself, but rather the way you use it. If I want me to observe the fourth stage of the law of fire, I would have asked Evergreen to make an entire volcano for me. Evergreen again, you mentioned her several times, aren't you going to tell me who she is? Shala. Well, our time together is coming to an end soon. There is no harm in telling you. She is the spirit of planet Greenland. Now I want you to gather the energy in your limb for a second before you release the arrow. Flora opened her eyes to the last of them, planet spirit. Planets have spirits of their own. Boom. Of course the planets have spirits. The spirits of the planets have a tremendous amount of information that goes beyond what they should know, and they also have a dangerous mind capable of plotting scenarios behind your imagination, and patience that would last for hundreds of thousands of years. Robin laughed. He seemed quite happy today. Does our planet have a spirit too? Flora tilted her head to the side slightly. Sure. And whoever controls this spirit will be the owner of the planet in word and deed. Now shoot the arrow from your right leg. Aren't you afraid to tell me this? Flora smiled a charming smile before shooting the arrow as she was ordered. Haha. Please go ahead and search for it. I hope you find it. The planet spirits live in their own domain, and from what I understand, the location of the domain differs from one spirit to another. Why do you think I didn't try to communicate with the spirit of your planet? When I decided to contact Evergreen for the first time, I knew her precise location, yet it took months to reach it. So what about the spirit of a planet I don't know anything about? Just searching for its domain could take years, let alone refining it. And I don't have time for this. Robin spoke as he carefully followed the movements of the energy paths. Actually, the spirit of your planet is very interesting in my opinion. I used to believe, and I still do, that the spirit of your planet has something to do with that sacrifice thing you're doing. Although I have no evidence yet, I cannot think of a second option. Flora smiled. You're not even close to the truth. Why don't you tell me the truth then? Robin stopped observing the energy path in Flora's arm for a moment to look into her eyes. Don't even dream about it. Seeing you try to come up with an explanation is more fun, but I'm sure you'll never be able to guess right. Flora put her hand to her mouth and laughed. Interesting. Robin shrugged her shoulders slightly before returning to what he was doing. Although his relationship with Flora had developed a lot over the past 2 years because he did as he promised and never humiliated her or even touched her, their relationship had not developed to the point where he would believe anything she said. Shala, why do you keep monitoring the movement of energy in my body anyway? If you see me as a bag of veins as you claim, weren't the first few days enough? Over the past 2 years, you've made me almost destroy the entire palace several times. Flora remained silent for a few seconds before changing the subject. It's not that easy. You might see me passing my eyes from the center of the energy pool to your limbs, and you think it's easy, but in reality, I'm monitoring the actions of every variable molecule in that path. Do you know the number of those variable molecules in the blood? I don't think they named a number that can describe what I see yet. Robin shook his head, then motioned for her to shoot an arrow at another doll. Variable molecules. What is this? Shala. Boom. To be honest, human emperors with pure lineage cannot move much energy within their bodies. But I was surprised the day I visited the orphan blood planet that you half-humans could do it easily, so I had to get one of you to run some tests. And my initial suspicion was correct. The variable molecules in your blood are what enable you to transfer energy easily. Robin pointed towards another doll before continuing. The variable molecules pull the strands of energy away from their regular paths, forming a complex pattern using energy. This pattern is what gives you your physical and psychological properties. But after examining you, I found that the shifting molecules have a much greater importance. They increase the capacity of energy pathways. Robin straightened his back and put his hand under his chin. I'll give you an example. If I gave you a string and told you that you have to connect point A and point B, you would need, for example, 1 meter if you used the string straight, but if you used the string zigzag, you would need 10, 20 meters or even 100 meters to connect the 2 points, even though it is the same distance. Of course, reality is much more complex, but you can understand it in this way. The variable molecules, and because they pull the strands of energy towards them and make them move in a complex manner, indirectly caused an increase in the amount of energy that the regular paths can carry. Then he raised his shoulder. I had a similar idea 2 years ago when I forced the paths to carry a greater amount of energy through the superior energy control technique. It worked, but the user's energy paths were severely exhausted. As for these variable molecules, they work indirectly to do the same purpose but in a natural, automatic way that does not leave any side effects behind. I don't know if it was the planet spirits that thought of those variable molecules or a higher entity, but it is truly the work of an artist. Flora stared with half-open eyes and put both hands on her waist. What? You are the one who asked. What does it have to do with me if you don't understand? Robin laughed out loud, then let go of her and walked towards the throne. The only thing that hadn't been burned down in the palace yet. Whatever, how long will these monitoring sessions last? Flora waved. The observation sessions were long because I discovered that your variable molecules work differently with each type of attack, as if preparing an ideal path for the required energy. Robin explained as he collected a number of scrolls lying on the throne and placed them in his ring. Before turning back to face Flora and then clapped, the good news is that we have finished. There is no longer any pattern in the body of the red flame dragon race that I do not recognize now, and most importantly, I fully understood the idea of how the variable molecules work in terms of energy transfer. Really? Can I go home now? Flora shouted excitedly and even clapped several times. She hadn't taken a step outside of this palace for 2 years now. Return home? Ahahaha. Absolutely not. What do you mean by no? You said you would only need me to do your research, didn't you say you were done just now? Flora put both hands on her waist in annoyance. I'm not done. All I did during the 2 years was study the work of your variable molecules in different offensive and defensive positions. Now I have to get into seclusion to find a way to do the same to humans without changing them physically or psychologically and making them become rootless monsters like you. No offense, well, you understand what I mean. Robin laughed. Harassing this girl has become a daily habit for him. As for you, you indeed no longer needed in my research, but that does not mean that I will return you to your planet. 5 years means 5 years, you still have 3 left. What am I supposed to do during the 3 years? Robin shrugged his shoulders. What does that have to do with me? I will tell the palace servants to obey you and bring you whatever food and supplies you want. Play yoga or something like that, but you must not leave the palace no matter what. I don't know what problems you might cause, and no one here can beat you down but me. Flora furrowed her eyebrows, obviously not satisfied with playing yoga for 3 years on a strange planet. In front of that angry look, Robin scratched his head for a few seconds. The idea of leaving someone like her unwatched for 3 years on the planet Yora did not appeal to him either. Okay, there is another option. I will send you to planet Greenland. I will allow you to explore it alone as you wish, But if you receive an order from Governor Alexander that he needs you in battle, you will have to obey him and participate. What do you think? Help them in battles. You have another army of demons invading another world right now. Flora didn't know how to deal with this information. Maybe Robin meant those demons she saw in front of the gate. Are they fighting in another world? Well, there were more than 100,000 saints and sages among them. It's quite possible. But if this is true, this means that they cannot help the demon army in the orphan blood world if there is a war. This is big news. What? Of course not. The human army is taking over Greenland. Robin waved dismissively. Flora opened her eyes to the last of them. You have an army of humans too. Until this moment, she had not seen any human force. The civilians in the imperial capital seemed strong, but in the end, there was not a single martial emperor among them. She also did not see any standing army in the city except for a few guards on the wall. Aren't the humans present here the entire human population in this world? And demons inhabit the rest of the planet. Of course, I have an army of humans. Never mind. Just tell me what you think. Do you want to stay here and do yoga or go hiking on a new planet to expand your horizons? Expand my horizons or help you expand your empire further? Robin shrugged his shoulders at Flora's sarcasm. Take it as you want. Just give me your decision. Inhale. As soon as Robin took a step outside the palace gate, he inhaled deeply, a big smile appearing on his face. Have you noticed? Flora looked around for a few seconds before nodding. You mean the natural energy density? Yes, I noticed a while ago. Since Alexander broke through to the Martial Emperor's realm, I have received reports that the level of natural energy in the atmosphere of planet Jura has begun to rise slowly, and even now it is still rising. I believe that the planet will need a few tens or even hundreds of years for the energy to return to stability at its new density level. What is strange about this is that it has begun even though Alexander was on planet Greenland when he broke through to the Martial Emperor's realm. Cool, huh? I wonder if the energy level will continue to increase until it approaches that of planet Nahari. That would be nice. Then he looked at her. Although I didn't stay long on the orphan blood planet, this should be happening there too after you and Aru broke through. Even though it was a scam breakout, I think it still counts. Flora raised her eyebrows. She actually felt that the energy around her was slowly increasing after she had broken through to the Martial Emperor's realm. But she did not know that the planet spirit had a hand in this. Robin took a long look around. Let's go. A little later, planet Greenland over the steep hill. As soon as Robin passed through the space portal, he found a familiar shadow throwing itself into his embrace. Who could it be but Zara? Behind her were Alexander, Emily, Old Man Gu, and a large number of other martial emperors and senior advisors who had come to greet him. Welcome back, Your Excellency. Oh, everyone here. Robin smiled as he patted Zara on the head. Being away for 2 years wasn't a big deal for people their age. But seeing Alexander and all those emperors here means that nothing big is happening in Greenland right now. Of course, Dad. Uncle Riley Burton personally came a few minutes ago and told us to get ready to receive you. Who is this? Zara pointed towards the girl behind Robin. Her sexy appearance and powerful aura were always eye-catching wherever she stepped. This one. Robin looked to his side and found Flora with her eyes wide open and even her mouth slightly open. He did not know if this reaction was because of the new planet or because of the number of human emperors in front of her, but he did not ask. This is a guest. Then he looked at Alexander and Emily. This sweetie over here is called Flora, from a planet called Orphan Blood. She understands the language of planet Jura very well after a long war with the demon army, so you will not have a problem communicating with her. Let her move inside Greenland as she pleases, but give her a voice ring to summon her when there is any big battle to help you. If you find her trying to harm us in any way or refusing to obey the summons, there is no need to be nice to her. Send a warlord to knock her head off, okay? Yes. Alexander smiled and nodded. He had many questions, but he knew that now was not the time. Hey, which warlord is gonna knock my head off? Bring him to me and I'll crush him for you. Flora's pride woke her from her shock. Hee. Robin laughed and did not answer her directly, but continued his conversation with Alexander. Why are you all here? Is the war over? In response to your excellency, Tree Father Labakan was killed in the war a few years ago and we benefited a lot from him. But currently the rest of the Tree Fathers and the Human Alliance are in an intense defensive position around our borders. Caesar, with half of his army, and Warlord Julian are fighting in the east and south to expand our influence, while Victoria, along with the other half of the army, and Warlord Eric are fighting in the north and west. The war is rather cold, but still our borders are expanding regularly. Good. Appoint someone to take Flora to Caesar and let her play with Julian for a bit. Tell him not to be too hard on her. Robin laughed and patted Flora on the back twice. Go with him, don't worry, Julian won't kill you. Your Excellency, I will take her myself. Alexander bowed slightly and looked back at Flora with shining eyes, then motioned for her to follow him. Through the distance between the hill and Caesar's army, he would be able to ask her everything that was on his mind. Humph. Even Aru and Sakar wouldn't dare declare that they can kill me that easily. I want to see what that human Julian can do. Flora blew some red fire out of her nose and followed Alexander with a mixture of apprehension and aspiration toward this new world. After Flora and Alexander disappeared from sight, Robin clapped twice. Okay, you can all disperse. I'm starting a new seclusion, which might take some time, so there's no need to waste your time with me here. You can go back and continue what you were doing. Oh, gentlemen emperors, I might need your help with some tests coming soon, so be prepared. Then he patted Zara on the head again before leaving her and walking towards his palace as if nothing had happened. After Robin left, Emily took a few steps to stand next to Zara. Sigh, won't he catch his breath or even spend some time with you? I heard from old man Riley Burton that His Excellency has been conducting daily examinations for the past 2 years without rest. And now he will start another seclusion. He didn't even stop to ask for reports. His Excellency is putting a lot of pressure on himself, and I fear that he will collapse at this pace. Zara clenched her small hands tightly, then turned and walked away. Where are you going? Emily called out. I will return to the heaven opening tower. If I cannot help him while I am by his side, I will see if my little mind can help in some other way. 3 years later, above the steep hill, the headquarters building. Alexander took a long sip of the hot drink in his hands. The time limit His Excellency has set for us is fast approaching. Emily rubbed her forehead for a few seconds. Yes, he has given us several tasks to quickly strengthen the army before that day arrives. There are approximately 4 years and 10 months left. I don't know if we can do it in time. We still have a long way to go until the army reaches the degree of armament and readiness that His Excellency expects, especially since production stopped for a long period in the factories and workshops of the ancestral continent after the war against the rebels began. Alexander nodded. You're right. The ancestral continent has been burning for 3 years. Although there was no war between regular armies, there was not a single city that was not affected by an assassination or a military operation against both sides. The death toll has accumulated to 2 million so far and is still there continuing. Although the rest of the continents have their own factories and workshops, the number of residents of the ancestral continent simply exceeds the number of citizens in the rest of the 5 continents combined by several folds, and so its outbreak of war reduced production by more than half. But at least the factories returned to reopen a year ago under heavy guard, and all the new workers took an oath to perform as hard as they can, and now production has doubled compared to before. Perhaps we can compensate for those years of war if the factories were well protected, and it would be even better when the war ends. Frankly, I don't see an end to the war on the ancestral continent anytime soon, especially since most of the old rune masters and divine blacksmiths refused to take the oaths and a large portion of them managed to escape. Secondly, even if production is resumed now, this does not mean that production that was halted for 2 years did not affect the armament plan. No, the production of weapons and talismans, the provision of minerals, and even the mission of the academies to double the number of saints and sages is still a headache for everyone, as if we are trying to fill a bottomless well. Even Jabba, after he succeeded in completing his array, is still working day and night to form at least 1 battalion before the time limit expires, and he is also still teaching about improving the array to make it work faster. Emily shook her head and looked at Elizabeth. Jabba's success was an expected surprise. After all, He is His Excellency's only disciple. Now everyone who cannot practice the laws in the internal energy system can take the path of strengthening the body. Of course, it will take some time until more arrays are built and the process in general to be improved to be an independent system, but the future is bright for this direction. Elizabeth nodded, smiling. Even with the facilitation and acceleration of the process, I still don't think it will rival the internal training system. Alexander waved. Have you seen that array? It really tests the limits of endurance. There are many people who died inside it during the process of destroying the muscles and severing the entrails, and the result is not that pleasing. If a person has the physical strength to withstand attacks from a saint, for example, does not mean that he can fight a saint. Come on, they cannot even fly. I still see that the best use of this array is to apply it to the saints and sages from the internal energy system to make them stronger. Other than this is a waste in my opinion. I see your judgment is a bit harsh, Alexander. The body strengthening system has barely begun. Who knows what surprises await us? Emily shook her head. Secondly, the current users of the body strengthening system are those who have no familiarity with the laws, that is, they would have been farmers or canned factory workers somewhere. Are you telling me that giving them such enormous physical strength and equipping them with divine armaments will not help us in wars? At the very least, they can be used as infantry, and they are happy about it. Alexander shrugged, if that's what you think. But she quickly furrowed her eyebrows. I just hope he stays calm for a while longer. Emily and Alexander looked at each other. They knew what Elizabeth was talking about. During the last 2 years, Jabba always seemed nervous and always shouting at his followers. He tried to communicate with Robin more than once to urge him to go to Nahari, but he refused and said that he was busy. Then Elizabeth seemed to remember something, so she suddenly looked at the two of them and asked in surprise, "Hey, do any of you know what will happen when the time limit arrives?" The answer is that the two raised their shoulders together. No one knows what will happen 4 years and 10 months from today. Everyone knows that something big is going to happen and everyone is sitting on their nerves waiting. They also know that it is something related to planet Nahari, from which Jabba and the demons came. They know that Robin has a strong feud with the giants there because they killed his beloved wife, Mila. They also heard Jabba speak about enemies coming to invade the planet Nahari, but what exactly will happen? No one knows. Will His Excellency attack planet Nahari to take revenge? How would he attack and why didn't he tell them any plan? Then will he help them resist the invaders coming to attack Nahari? If this was his intention, why had he not gone to Nahari yet to assess the defenses and coordinate with the local residents? Does this have anything to do with the planet Nahari at all? Making war decisions is not the responsibility of the army, but rather the leader of the nation. His Excellency will tell us what to do when the time is right. What is important is that we be ready to be sent to fight anywhere and at any time. Alexander took another sip of his drink. Emily nodded seriously and gently raised her glasses. She understood Alexander's words and was already working with full energy to fulfill His Excellency's requirements in a timely manner. Interesting, you seem eager to take orders. A playful smile appeared on Elizabeth's face. Eager. Who knows what we'll encounter out there? Alexander shook his head, but His Excellency's wish must be obeyed. Haha, there's no need to hide it. I see the flame burning in your eyes. I wonder, during the Great Hill Agreement, who stressed that we would only obey Emperor Robin in peace, and that we did not have to listen to his orders in case he called us to go to war. Now look at you, you look like you want to encourage him to start wars just to follow him. Elizabeth laughed out loud. Even great Alexander blushed a little. Weren't you with me that day too? Let's leave the past in the past. That man really has his own charm. Elizabeth leaned her back on the sofa and murmured, her eyes sparkling slightly. Don't even think about it. Emily looked at her from above. Do you want to take him from me? I'm afraid the competition will be one-sided. Elizabeth giggled. Her smile at this moment was deadly. Me? Don't get me into your fantasies. I know my worth. Emily blushed and stood up shouting, then sat down quietly and adjusted her glasses. Plus, His Excellency is not interested in women anyway. In the last 3 years, he has not met anyone other than the old men and women from the Research and Development Department. especially those who are interested in chemistry and the others responsible for the recordings of the 4 planets. For 3 years he did not even sit with his adopted kids, go to a restaurant, or even take a break for a single hour. If he was the lazy type, he wouldn't have gotten to where he is. Elizabeth shrugged. But I wonder what he's been up to with the R&D team for 3 long years. Well, I guess we'll know in time, since when can we predict what does His Excellency want anyway? Even the research and development department members who are helping him don't know what they are helping with. Elizabeth covered her small mouth and giggled. At this moment, Emily heard a voice message and quickly stood up with her arms latched on her thighs. Only after a few seconds did she breathe a sigh of relief. Alexander put down his drink and quickly stood up, followed by Elizabeth. The only one who makes you act like this when you receive a message from him is His Excellency. What did he say? He said he wanted me to send a few martial emperors to the Green Dawn Mountain to try something.